prehistoric prey.
500,000 years ago, when jaguars first entered South America, the continent was home to megafauna. Some of the animals, like the giant ground sloth, could be as big as elephants.
Jaguars adapted quickly to their new environment and became specialists in giant killing. Their strategy consists of using camouflage to stalk their prey. The rosettes on their skin help them blend in with the dense jungle. When they're close enough, they pounce on their prey, climbing on its back and biting on its neck until it snaps. If the prey is small enough, they might bite through the skull to stab the brain with their long fangs. This killing strategy requires immense bite strength. Jaguars have the strongest among all felines, even stronger than the much larger Siberian tiger.
Hey everyone, we have exciting news! We're thrilled to announce the release of Animalogic's very first book, Strange Creatures. This book dives into the most incredible animals we've ever featured on the show, with each chapter packed with my illustrations and stunning full-color images. It's a fun and engaging way to learn about the animal kingdom, and a perfect tool to spark kids' interest in science. Each chapter breaks down an animal's biology, behavior, and all the coolest facts you need to know about these fascinating creatures. Animalogic's Strange Creatures is a must-have addition to your own library, or the perfect gift for an animal lover this upcoming holiday season. Click the link in the description to check it out, and if you can, pre-order a copy. Pre-ordering would help us get an extra bump in the Amazon algorithm, and that would mean the world to us, so thank you so much.
A jaguar's jaws can produce 700 kilograms of force and drag down animals as heavy as a bull. They can even crack open turtle shells.
This diet sustained a large jaguar population until an even deadlier predator showed up: us.
Humans hunted all herbivores larger than 65 kilograms in the jaguar's range to extinction, and jaguars had to adapt their diet. Before humans arrived, jaguars would feast on giant prime rib steak, but in the New World, they had to satisfy themselves with tapas. As a consequence of this, they shrunk in size. Jaguars in the Holocene could weigh up to 200 kilograms, but the largest modern jaguars are about half of their ancestors' size. In areas with low large prey density, they can be as small as 50 kilograms.
But even these Lilliputian jaguars are incredible hunters, and can catch even the largest extant herbivores in the tropical Americas.
Their current diet consists mostly of deer, peccaries, caimans, and capybara, though monkeys and tapirs are also caught on occasion. Capybara seem to be their preferred prey, and it's not rare to find capybara skulls with 2 perforations on their sides. Anything smaller than 20 kilograms is usually not energy efficient enough for a jaguar to chase. The smaller prey is mostly caught by pumas, which are sympatric with jaguars.
Their biggest available prey, however, are domestic cattle, which is a bit ironic because they were introduced to America by the same species that killed off all of their historic prey.
Brazil has the world's largest population of cattle, and vast expanses of the Amazon have been cut down to make room for them. Jaguars sometimes attack cows and are very effective at killing them, despite being much smaller than them. Unfortunately, this has put them at odds with ranchers, who preemptively kill jaguars to protect their herds. But ranchers aren't the only threat to these felines. Poachers, too, kill jaguars and sell their skin for as little as $20.
This has led to a decline in jaguar numbers and range.
Jaguars used to be found in every country in the Americas south of Canada, but are now almost extinct in the southern half of South America. There is a very small population of jaguars in the United States, in Arizona and New Mexico. They include a celebrity jaguar named El Jefe, which was originally thought to be the only living jaguar in the US. He lives in the Santa Rita Mountains of Arizona, though since 2016, other jaguars have been reported. The American population of jaguars is struggling. As more and more artificial barriers are being put up, they're unable to diversify their populations by mating with the larger population of jaguars in the south. Like all animals, jaguars need a large gene pool to maintain a healthy population. Thankfully, there are some groups trying to help. Initiatives like the Path of the Jaguar aim to connect separate jaguar populations by rebuilding forest paths so that they can mate with each other. It's only fair that after eating their food, we're finding them dates. Polar bears are Arctic apex predators that make home to one of the most inhospitable habitats on the planet. And every year, that habitat gets even more unforgiving. Aside, polar bears reign supreme among land-dwelling apex predators. They are the largest land carnivore in the world. Adult male polar bears can easily weigh 800 kilograms, standing at almost 3 meters tall. That's twice as heavy as a grizzly bear. Females are a lot slimmer, weighing only 400 kilos, and their body weight fluctuates throughout the year depending on how much food they're able to eat. Living in the Arctic ring of life is difficult, and to give them an edge over their habitat, polar bears have developed a series of adaptations. First of all, their fur. Their coloration helps them camouflage against the white backdrop of the Arctic, though they aren't themselves actually white. Their fur is actually transparent. It's made of small hollow tubes and it can reflect the colors of its surroundings, the snow and the sky. This is why they can appear yellow in summertime. Polar bears have a thick layer of fat, as well as oily, water-resistant fur that protects them against the elements. The most treacherous part about living in the Arctic is that their habitat is melting, and it gets worse every year as temperatures around the world continue to rise. To live in such a harsh and changing territory, polar bears have become experts in the water. Compared to other bears, their bodies are very long, which makes them quite hydrodynamic. Their front paws are massive, about 30 centimeters wide, and they use them as paddles. The US Geological Survey found that polar bears can swim for up to 10 days straight. In that time, they can cover over 600 kilometers. But it comes at a cost. For polar bears, swimming is 5 times more energy intensive than walking, and the longer they have to spend swimming between meals, the higher the chance is that they'll starve. As global warming is causing summers to last longer in the Arctic, the frozen walkways on which they so desperately rely don't stay frozen long enough for the bears to cross. The further they have to swim on empty stomachs, the more likely they are to starve and drown. Their diet consists of fat. They're unable to survive on a terrestrial diet, as their metabolism is optimized for fat, which land mammals don't have in high quantities. Instead, they have to target fatty marine mammals, primarily seals. They track these seals down with their incredible sense of smell. Their noses contain as many as 100 times more scent receptors than our noses, and the olfactory bulb in their brains is about 5 times bigger than ours. This allows them to find seal holes at a great distance. And when they find them, they use their long claws and immense body weight to break open the layers. When a seal surfaces to breathe, they grab hold of the seal's neck with their jaw, they drag it onto the ice, and eat it. Though when there isn't anything else around, starved polar bears, exhausted by their long journeys, will take a big risk to feed their young, targeting a much deadlier class of prey: the walrus. Found in large packs, walruses are armed with deadly tusks, capable of piercing a polar bear's thick, black skin. A lucky bear is able to snatch a walrus cub and make it out alive. But others aren't so lucky.
Competition for mating rights with females is intense and can see two 800-kilo behemoths duke it out. Mating occurs in the spring, but polar bears delay their embryo implantation until October, when the female enters her den.
She will give birth to 1 or 2 cubs every 3 years. The cubs are very small when they're born, but by April, they're big enough to leave the den and join mom on the hunt for food.
Entering their den in early October, a lot of females will spend up to 8 months with no food. But when they're ready to emerge, they're ravenous.
Their dens are made on land, and in order to find something to eat, they have to make the trek out onto the Arctic ice. As global warming causes ice to form later in the year and break up earlier in the summer, polar bears have to expend a lot more energy swimming to the nearest ice in hopes of catching a seal. Moms and their cubs travel very slowly in the water, and they have to take frequent breaks as the cubs don't yet have their insulating layer of fat and can easily freeze to death. If it takes them too long, Mama Bear will starve, and if Mama Bear starves, the babies starve alongside her.
As the ice shrinks, polar bears have turned to other means of finding food, and oftentimes that means clashing with humans.
In February of 2019, a remote Russian town in the Novaya Zemlya region found its garbage dumps invaded by dozens of polar bears. At least 52 polar bears have visited the village of Belushya Guba this year, and they've even broken into homes, apartments, and office buildings in search of food.
Polar bears are vulnerable, and since November of 2018, they've been considered a species of special concern here in Canada, where 2/3 of the world's polar bear population is found.
As such, a lot of the burden to protect polar bears falls to us. While we have made some strides over the last 2 years, monitoring our polar bear population, developing regulations to combat illegal polar bear hunting, and working with the Inuit to better understand polar bears, we are still far from where we need to be.
A massive initiative is needed to combat global warming and to keep the Arctic ice that polar bears call home from destruction.
Honey badgers, great white sharks, saltwater crocodiles, you can all go home. Wolverine has entered the chat. What these predators lack in size, they more than make up for in pure audacity.
Hello! You're wanting to get as close as possible to a Wolverine, first woman ever to do this.
I'm going in
Here, I got
with
it.
a Wolverine.
Touches ours.
Can I? Ferocious, furry, and fearless, this is the king of chaos, the Wolverine. Today we are in the Yukon, looking for one of the world's most elusive and relentless predators, the Wolverine. Years ago, in our first season, we talked about Wolverines. But since we got the opportunity to see them up close, we had to take another look. Right now, I'm following some footprints, and I can only assume that those belong to a Wolverine. The footprints of a Wolverine don't look anything like a coyote or a wolf. They look a little bit more like a bear print. Obviously, a little bit smaller. Yeah, you can see how there's two trails here. Now, I bet you anything that if this was a coyote and a Wolverine, the Wolverine was probably the one chasing the coyote. I'd put my money on that. Wolverines are very elusive creatures, and seeing one in the wild is incredibly difficult. So we decided to head down to Alaska to meet the man who's best friends with one. Well, we've made it to the Kroschel Wildlife Center in Alaska. The guy who runs this place, Steve Kroschel, is kind of a local celebrity within the Yukon and Alaska. He's known as the Wolverine Man. I really want to know why that is. And I think we're gonna find out.
Hello!
Hi! Hi! Don't move! Hi!
Oh, that's why. This is Jasper, a Wolverine that Steve has raised in captivity since 2008.
This is the 6th litter of Wolverines that I've had in 40 years. Really? They're very hard to propagate in captivity. You have to go back into bloodlines that were rescues from trappers in the Arctic.
So how many generations of captive Wolverines does he come from?
Oh, it would have to be two, at least two, yeah.
At first glance, you might mistake the Wolverine for a small bear. But really, they're more closely related to weasels. They belong to the Mustelidae family, alongside fellow cutthroat cuties like badgers, otters, pine martens, and ermines. Much like everyone's favorite X-Men, Wolverines are native to Canada, but they can also be found across boreal forests and tundras of the US and Eurasia. Which means they need to survive freezing cold, high-latitude temperatures. And after millions of years of evolution, they're not just surviving, they're thriving. Just look at those coats. Their thick, oily fur is hydrophobic, meaning it repels water. That's right, the Wolverine is waterproof. Talk about a real superpower. Without this ability, the snow or the blood of their prey would wet their skin and accelerate heat loss. In the Arctic, moisture can be deadly. Their paws are large and furry and act as snowshoes to prevent them from sinking too far into the snow. These murder mittens are equipped with semi-retractable claws that they use for climbing, digging, scaring away predators, and the occasional villain. Their scientific name is gulo gulo, which is Latin for glutton, and they live up to that. They'll eat anything that they can get their paws on, from plants and berries, to mice and rabbits, to elk and moose. Even carrion is on the menu. Ah, delicious carrion. All the yummy meat without the pesky time and energy spent hunting. Clever Wolverines have been known to drive away much larger animals, such as wolves and cougars, and take over eating the carcass of their prey. Sorry, but the Wolverine isn't here to make friends. Wolverines will defend their meals by any means necessary, and whatever they can't finish in one sitting is claimed by spraying it with a strong, stinky musk and burying it for later. Yum!
Can you help me build a winter kill moose carcass scenario?
Absolutely. Where do we start?
This is a real moose. We're just putting it together like Mr. Potato. Grab that antler over there too, Danielle.
Yeah. This is heavy.
Hind feet, front feet from a single moose.
These are hind feet. that is front foot? I don't know what that's supposed to be. Like middle of the body. This is just a dislocated leg. I'm burying parts of a moose carcass, trying to make it look like a moose that died by avalanche. Because that's exactly what wolverines are looking for. Carcasses that have been dead and frozen in the ground for some time. For the record, I didn't kill the moose, okay? It was hit by a car, and now it gets to be a part of the food chain. This is literally the opposite of what I do with the rom. Over there, I take the bones out of the ground. Right now, I'm putting them in the ground. Does that look good? Does this look like a moose that died by avalanche? I got Steve here putting the icing on the moose as a final touch. Oh yeah, I'm really starting to believe this.
Just start pounding away on that moose carcass. That's it.
Summon my inner Wolverine.
Yes, that's the body of the moose right there. Pack away, pack, pack, pack. Pound it down.
Oh, I can smell it.
Yep. You're gonna be a new woman by the time you're done here, Danielle.
So what are we doing right here with these buckets of water?
What I'm doing is I'm trying to get this solid because a Wolverine is smart. They'll know this is a fake movie set. So we want it to last more than a few seconds. It'll freeze shortly and then we'll bring the Wolverine in here and all hell's gonna break loose.
Great. What do you think of this Wolverine meal?
I think it's perfect.
Yeah?
It looks like Thanksgiving.
Come and get it. While you and I see the world through our eyes, Wolverines see the world through their nose. The Wolverine sense of smell is outstanding. They can smell 1 molecule out of 5 million in the air, whereas me, I can just smell 1 in 250,000. That's leagues better than me. They find food using their incredible sense of smell. Wolverines have the ability to sniff out carcasses buried under 20 feet of snow. With so much of their prey being killed in avalanches every year, the Wolverine's heightened sense of smell is key to their survival.
Are you ready to take a risk? And I will protect you if things go south, because it is a wild and dangerous animal after all.
So are we going to let it explore this while we're in its enclosure?
I'm gonna try. And
Okay.
I've never ever done this where there's a free roaming Wolverine with anyone other than me. I take that back. There was one person, I won't tell you his name, he tried it, but it only lasted for like 30 seconds. It got bad, it got dangerous. Literally I had to dive between him and the animal. Now the Wolverine was just curious, but we can't be sure.
But it's okay for me to be here.
Well, you know why? You know why I feel that way?
Why?
Because you give off the right kind of frequency. You have a compassion and an insight that I don't see very often in a human being.
All right, well, I'm putting a lot of trust in you and a lot of trust in the Wolverine.
Did you sign the release? No, I'm just kidding.
Were you serious though, or was that like just good acting about no one else ever doing this?
I'm serious.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but there's some.
I had to ask.
Are you all ready?
I'm all ready. Just get my gloves on. I'll be good to go.
I've got something I want to give you.
Oh, what's this? Oh, that is pungent.
That's Wolverine lure. Have you ever smelled that before?
No, it doesn't smell like anything I've ever smelled in my life.
You just put one little speck of that in the center of that moose carcass, and I think we'll get the Wolverine to claim that carcass.
Okay.
Stick it in the snow right on the top. Just dab it in the snow.
in there? All right. This is it. This is the pièce de résistance. Now, this stuff is made with real Wolverine musk. This is going to draw the Wolverine down to investigate. And what Wolverines do when they have carcasses that they want to eat or save for later, they mark it for themselves by spraying it with more musk. So it's gonna smell this and say, hey, I'm gonna put my stink on it. We want him to come and claim this for himself and then dig in.
Okay, Danielle, I'm going to go out and get Jasper. And I'm going to bring him over here like you're carrying a child in a car seat. And I'm going to go through there. And then I'm going to let him go in there. And once he's in there, I'm going to summon you to come in with me. Okay, stand right here, just in case something goes right there. Stand right there.
All right, I won't move until you give me the signal.
and I will be back. I hope this works.
All right, I think we're just about ready to let this guy go.
Don't move.
Hi.
Here we go. I hope Jasper likes dinner. Here we go. I'm going in
Here, I got
with
it.
a Wolverine.
Okay.
Oh, he's going straight for it.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Now walk.
Jasper's already exploring that moose carcass. I am so happy that this Wolverine is comfortable with my presence right now. I feel pretty calm about it myself now that I can see how relaxed Jasper is. Guess it goes both ways, you know? I'm elated. My heart is just, oh, it's pounding out of just sheer excitement. What a beautiful animal. Don't worry, I'm not gonna stand on your moose. It's all yours. Oh my goodness. Let's see, Steve knows how to speak to this Wolverine. He just warned the Wolverine to step off, because I'm not a meal. At least not yet. At over a meter long and about as heavy as a German Shepherd, the females are about 30% smaller than the males, but equally as chaotic. These stocky mustelids weigh between 11 and 18 kilograms. Their fur is brown or black, with a yellow or gold stripe from their head to their tail. The markings on their faces, necks, and chests are unique to each Wolverine. Kind of like hyper-aggressive snowflakes. And they are aggressive. Like really, really capital A aggressive. Wolverines are always on the prowl, only taking breaks for naps and mating. The only thing these demon ferrets like more than eating its prey is killing it. The Wolverine's ferocity is so legendary that people living out on the land told me that they'd rather run into a polar bear than a Wolverine. Crikey! Wolverines can hit speeds of almost 50 kilometers per hour running across the snow. If they ran that fast on a city road, they'd likely get a ticket. They're also great climbers and super strong for their size. Can he dig out the foot? He's got the foot!
Oh no!
He's got the foot! Having raised several litters of Wolverines from birth, Steve has become somewhat of a Wolverine whisperer. And in order to be as safe as possible in the enclosure, he taught me to speak Wolverine. All right.
I hear him talking now. Okay, so.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah.
I can hear him.
Yeah.
He's excited. Do you think he can smell the moose?
Oh yeah. They can smell frying bacon from 25 miles away in the Arctic if the wind's blowing right. There's certain voices now that I make and vocalizations to communicate with the Wolverine. And one of them is this. Dow! Go ahead, do it. Dow! And then,
Hi. Hi.
louder.
Hi.
Dow! And then,
Hi. Hi.
louder.
Hi.
I'm over here on this side, Danielle, on this side.
Hi.
That's it. And then, that's it. That's it. Yep. Okay.
Ha ha ha!
That's it.
Ha ha ha!
That's it.
Ha ha ha! Hi!
Just, you got it.
Hi!
Yeah, see? See?
Hi!
See? It's coming.
Oh, he just did a front flip. Hi! Hi! I love Wolverine noises. You hear that? That's moose bone breaking in his teeth. All of their front teeth are extremely sharp and long. All the better for crunching into that frozen flesh. But the teeth at the back of their mouths, their molars, those are built for crunching through bone. A Wolverine's third upper molar is actually turned inwards like other mustelids, except theirs is way bigger. And this is designed to help them hold onto and crunch bones much more effectively especially because most of their meals, like this one, are frozen. So he's grabbing onto that meat and twisting and turning to pull off pieces of frozen flesh. Now, wolverines don't mind at all if their meal is frozen. Frozen meat is what they're built for.
In the wild, if you got this close to a wolverine on a carcass, that would be a true miracle.
Oh, I bet.
You'd have to be, and it might only happen once in a lifetime.
Well, he's extremely patient, and I'm grateful for that. Oh, that looks like fun. I want to join him with that. I want to roll around on my back in the snow.
Wolverines, everything they do, even if they're starving to death in the wild, is about having fun while you're trying to survive. They're comical. They're not a ferocious, nasty animal.
An animal that does have interest in having fun is a sheer sign of intelligence. And it just goes to show just how smart these animals are. While many species in their range get through the winter by hibernating, wolverines just don't care about the cold. While everyone else is sleeping, the wolverine gets to hunting. This is the other benefit of being able to smell through the snow. They can easily find animals hibernating under the snow and make sure they never wake up again. Don't work hard, work smart. It really doesn't matter if you're dead or alive. Everything looks like a gourmet meal to a wolverine. When they find a moose carcass, they'll often take up residence inside its body, like Han freaking Solo in a tauntaun.
Many of my bush pilot friends in the Arctic, they're flying over, they see where one is in a caribou.
That's
Or a
amazing.
moose. Yeah. They get very possessive too.
Combine the wolverine's bite, thick hide, and sharp claws with a large dash of brazen confidence, and you've got one deadly predator. The wolverine is so tenacious that it can take down animals up to 5 times their own size. The wolverine kills its prey with a bite to the neck, which severs its tendons and crushes its throat. But even the kings and queens of chaos aren't impervious to predators. They have to watch out for wolves. Wolverines can take on 1, 2, even 3 wolves, but if they're ganged up on by a pack, they can get themselves killed. On the plus side, wolves kill other animals, thereby creating yummy carrion for the wolverine. They have a complicated relationship, to say the least. Wolverines are super solitary and extremely territorial. They're always on a solo quest for food, and only ever stop munching to mate and raise kids. The male's home range is huge and can be up to 620 square kilometers. They mark that territory and communicate with other animals using their anal scent glands. That pungent odor is the reason they've earned nicknames like Skunk Bear and Nasty Cat. That's a bit rude. Make fun of their smell all you want, but spreading their stinky musk is how they meet partners. Wolverines are a polygamous species that can mate with any member of the opposite sex living in or overlapping with their territory. Breeding season is between May and August, and the females are the first ones to make a move. After they first meet up, they'll mate for a couple days and then go their separate ways. Females have the ability to delay the implantation of the eggs until as late as the following spring. The actual gestation only lasts 30 to 50 days. Once she's safe and hidden in her den, Mom will give birth to 3 kids. Wolverine dads used to get a bad rap, but recent research suggests that they play a bigger role in raising kids than previously thought. Fathers have been spotted visiting the mom wolverines when they're nursing their young. Some dads even take an interest in their offspring when they're older, teaching them how to survive in the wild and even just playing. But let's be real, Mom does most of the work. The kits are weaned off her milk at 3 months old. They'll be full-sized at a year old and reach sexual maturity at age 2 or 3.
True symbol of the Arctic wilderness is the wolverine, more so than the polar bear, the grizzly. I never thought, Danielle, that you'd be interacting with this wolverine's behavior. This is amazing. Here, touch his arse.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Oh my god. Oh, it's so soft. All right, there he goes. Bye, Jasper. I love you. Researchers aren't sure how many wolverines there are in the world. They're so elusive and mysterious. But their numbers took a big hit back when humans used to hunt them for their fur. They're also threatened by global warming. Wolverines need deep mountain snows to den, and scientists believe their habitats will shrink as temperatures rise. So let's fight climate change and protect the wolverines. They'd do the same for us. Actually, on second thought, maybe they wouldn't. They'd probably just let us all die and happily feast on our carcasses. Classic Wolverine. The Stark sigil is a gray direwolf on a white field, and while the direwolves of Westeros are fiction, they have a firm paw in reality. Direwolves went extinct 10,000 years ago, but more on that in a minute. Described in the books as being as big as small horses, direwolves in real life were only about 25% bigger than grey wolves. Not exactly big enough to ride into battle unless ridden by Rickon, but who likes Rickon anyway? They were hyper carnivores, which sounds like a totally badass Pokemon, but actually it just means that 70% of their diet was meat. To accomplish said quota, they had to kill a lot, and they were likely bone-crushing carnivores. They would crush their prey's bones and slurp out the delicious marrow. I don't know if delicious is the right word to describe marrow. Have you tried marrow? I don't know. There is some debate about this, but in order to crush bones, they needed a powerful jaw, which some scientists estimate to have a bite force of 1,900 pounds per square inch, which is more force than a hippo's bite, so you can kind of see why there's debate about it. We know as much as we do about the direwolf because thousands of full direwolf skeletons have been found in the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles. Their remains have also been found as far north as Alberta and as far south as Bolivia. Evidence from their anatomy and how they were found in groups suggests that, like grey wolves, direwolves hunted in packs, and that they ate just about any large thing that they could find, like woolly mammoths, stag moose, mastodons, giant sloths, giant beavers, llamas, and other megafauna or other things with giant in their name that were alive at the time. The direwolf skeleton is much more stout than that of a grey wolf, which suggests an adaptation of power over speed. Like direwolves north of the wall likely clashed with shadow cats, our direwolves' rivals were surprisingly way cooler, saber-toothed tigers. It's hard to know exactly if they often fought each other, but their bones have been found together, next to the very same prey. This suggests that the two fearsome animals were at the very least competitors. But it wasn't only Smilodon. The direwolves also had to compete with the extinct American lion. All of these animals were pack animals, and just the idea of a three-way war between direwolves, Smilodons, and American lions is just... I can't. Direwolves lived in North and South America up until 10,000 years ago when they went extinct. Having survived 1.79 million years, their extinction is still somewhat of a mystery. One theory is that since direwolves were 25% bigger than grey wolves, that they were that much slower. As their slow prey went extinct, possibly wiped out by the last ice age, and those that survived evolved to be faster, direwolves weren't able to catch their lunch. Grey wolves, however, were very slim and speedy, and were able to push the direwolves out of the market. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago about science giving us domesticated foxes, science's latest gift is domesticated direwolves. Sort of. The American Alsatian Breeders Association is working on the direwolf project. They're breeding dogs selectively to bring back the look of the extinct animal. Unfortunately, it won't actually be a real direwolf, as to do that they would need actual direwolf genetic material, which no one has been able to find. Interestingly, the extinction of the direwolf lined up coincidentally with the same time that humans started domesticating dogs to hunt. Did humans hunting direwolf prey lead to their ultimate demise? We may never know, but this question still rings true today. If 10,000 years ago, humans, whose population was much, much smaller than it is today, were able to push an animal to extinction by hunting for survival, what chances do we have at coexisting with nature today? If you ever get to see a cheetah run, don't blink, you'll miss it. Cheetahs are synonymous with speed. While they aren't the fastest animals on the planet, the peregrine falcon, for example, reaches a mind-numbing 400 kilometers per hour when diving, they do hold the title for fastest animal on land. They've been measured hitting top speeds of 120 kilometers per hour, but that was an extreme case. Typically, they won't exceed 65 kilometers per hour.
Cheetahs are sprinters, not long-distance runners.
While they can reach high speeds, it's how they accelerate to those speeds that's most interesting. A cheetah can accelerate 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3 seconds flat, or just 3 strides. Some studies even put them at 2.9 seconds flat.
Meaning that a cheetah 40 meters away could have started running and caught me in the first third of that sentence.
For comparison, the first Porsche able to tie a cheetah in acceleration wasn't produced until 2011.
Cheetahs accomplished this feat through a series of remarkable adaptations.
First of all, they are super lightweight, despite not being particularly small. They stand around a meter tall at the shoulder, which is just 20% shorter than a lion. Yet despite this, they weigh a quarter of the weight of a lion. The average adult male lion weighs 250 kilos, while a large adult male cheetah weighs just 70 kilos, but most of them don't grow heavier than 55 kilos.
This slender frame helps acceleration, and their flat head minimizes air resistance.
They have very distinct hips that can pivot in place, allowing for cheetahs to keep up with the sharp turns their prey uses to try and throw them off. Their shoulder blades aren't attached to their collarbone, which allows for their legs to stretch much further apart and pull much closer together to increase the length of their stride.
Their spine acts somewhat like a spring, compressing and releasing energy with each stride, giving them even more of a boost.
Their claws are only semi-retractable. This gives them increased grip, kind of like cleats, paired with their pads, which are much harder than other cats, allowing for better shock absorption. Their tail acts like a rudder during chases, allowing them to make super sharp turns. Cheetahs have very long nasal passages, which allow for large amounts of air to enter their lungs and oxygenate their blood. And when on a chase, their respiratory rate increases to between 60 and 150 breaths per minute. In a single stride, a cheetah will launch forward over 7 meters, increasing their speed with each step.
Their strides are so massive that it looks more like they're launching themselves into the air rather than running.
In fact, they spend more time in the air than they do on the ground, as with each stride, all of their legs leave the ground not once, but twice.
You may have heard that cheetahs will overheat while sprinting, and as a result have to give up on the chase. This is a myth.
This little bit of misinformation came from a study in the 1970s, in which 2 Harvard scientists had a couple captive raised cheetahs run on treadmills in a lab, with thermometers stuck up their rear ends. This clearly, highly scientific study found that the cheetahs would overheat too much while running and would need to stop.
Their conclusions were based on bad data.
Not only were they not testing wild cheetahs, they were running on a treadmill indoors instead of outdoors in the plains, and they had them do long-distance runs instead of sprints. Despite this, the information spread, and to this day, people will mention that cheetahs will overheat when they run, making them too specialized, and that's why they'll eventually go extinct.
It's not.
Cheetahs are purpose-built for one thing: running. And they do it very, very well.
The reason they're listed as vulnerable isn't due to overheating, it's due to us.
Cheetahs live in very low densities and need very long stretches of land to sustain themselves. As we develop more and more into cheetah territory, we segment their populations and drive prey out. Clashes with farmers is one cause of their population decreasing, but a bigger one is poaching for their fur and the recent resurgence of the illegal live animal trade, in which cheetahs are especially popular and primarily end up in the Gulf states. Cheetahs used to be found across Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, and India, but today they can only be found in southern and eastern Africa, and there remains a small, critically endangered population in Iran. Their current range is an estimated 89% smaller than their historic range, and it's estimated that their range will decrease another 10% over the next 15 years.
Cheetahs remain the only extant member of their family, which used to contain several species.
Most notable were the giant cheetahs, which lived in Europe and China and were twice as large as a cheetah. And then there's the king cheetah. These guys were originally thought to be separate species, but actually are simply a mutation. They have thicker fur and bigger spots.
Unlike many other cats, cheetahs are diurnal, which means that they're active during the day.
This is likely precisely because many other big cats, including their number one predators, the lions, are primarily nocturnal, thus lessening the chances for competition. When hunting, due to their small stature, cheetahs tend to go after smaller prey, like hares and birds. Though sometimes they will go after larger prey like gazelle, impala, ostriches, and young wildebeest, but in order to successfully take on the bigger prey, they need to team up. Most cheetahs live in groups, the exceptions being young males who haven't joined a group yet, or pregnant females.
Males tend to form groups of males called coalitions.
They're usually made up of brothers, but other males may join as well to help defend their territory together. Groups are not only helpful for attacking larger prey, but also for attracting mates. Male cheetah coalitions have a better chance of encountering females than solo cheetahs. The interesting thing about the males is that they're competitive with territory and females, but at the same time, they are social. Once the group or the solo male has secured territory, they will mark it with urine, feces, and claw marks.
Their territories are huge.
The solo males keep larger territories, measuring up to 1,000 square kilometers, while the groups will keep a smaller territory of between 20 and 100 square kilometers.
While they don't overheat on the hunt and have to give up on kills, they do have to eat quickly.
Once they've successfully landed a kill, they have to eat as much as they can, as quickly as they can, before the vultures show up, a warning sign that something bigger is coming to steal the meal. Namely, lions, leopards, and hyenas. That said, cheetahs don't go down without a fight, and only give up around 10% of their kills to larger predators. Cheetah cubs are born very underdeveloped, with their eyes closed for about a week. It takes about another week for them to learn to walk, and around 14 weeks to reach adolescence. Unfortunately, only about 20% of them will make it that far, and the rest are primarily preyed upon by lions and spotted hyenas.
Cheetah cubs are absolutely adorable and look rather different from the adults, mostly because of their mohawks.
This is a layer of light-colored fur called a mantle. We're not entirely sure why they have it, but one theory is that cheetah cubs are mimicking honey badgers to benefit from their reputation of being fearsome. Lions are called the king of the jungle, even though they don't live in the jungle. But when you can do this, you can be the king of whatever the hell you want. All hail the king.
About 15,000 years ago, lions roamed across most of the earth.
European cave lions ruled from Great Britain to Alaska, while American lions reigned over everything from southern Canada to Patagonia. These early lions shared their kingdom with humans, and they were our ancestors' main predators.
You most likely had a grandparent 1,000 generations ago who got eaten by a lion.
As the Ice Age came to an end, human populations boomed, and forests took over much of the lion's former range. But lions don't do well in dense forest. They became extinct in most of the world, except the savannas of Africa and a small area of India. But where they still exist, they're the most dominant predator around. Lions can take down prey more than twice their size. The largest male lions are about 250 kilograms. Females, who do most of the hunting, only grow to be about 150 kilograms. But they go for prey of up to half a metric ton. Giraffes, zebras, wildebeest, and water buffalo are usually on the menu.
It's been shown that lions rarely go for prey lighter than 200 kilograms, with warthogs being the main exception. Sorry, Pumbaa.
Though lions are fast and powerful, their real strength is in their numbers. Lions are the most social of all the big cats. The demographics of their pride vary depending on location and food availability, but on average, groups have 2 or 3 males, 8 females, and babies of both sexes. Different members will assume different roles in the pride. Fast and agile females make the best hunters, while chunky males are good at defending their kills from other predators like hyenas, as well as protecting the pride from other lions. Lion cubs are easy targets, and even large herbivores like rhinos and elephants might attempt to kill a cub if it wanders into their territory. So, having a strong group is important to keep the young safe.
The pride is also crucial to their hunting strategy.
Lions are highly effective pack hunters. This allows them to outflank and ambush prey they might not otherwise be able to catch. Lions are active opportunistically throughout the day. Hunting while the sun is up allows them to track vultures down for a free meal, while hunting at night allows them to more stealthily approach their prey. At zoos, you'll generally see them napping. This can be pretty reflective of their life in the wild, as they can sleep up to 20 hours a day. Think of your house cats.
Male lion cubs can't wait to be king, but they do have a harsh road ahead of them.
At around 3 years of age, they get kicked out of their group and become nomadic, until they're strong enough to force their way into a new pride. To do that, they have to fight the local males. As a rule of thumb, you can tell which lion is stronger by comparing their hair. It's not exactly a mane measuring contest, but older lions produce more testosterone and have longer and darker manes. If the nomads think they can win the fight, they'll challenge the resident lions. If they win, they'll usually kill all the male babies, preventing them from ever becoming rivals. After that, they'll mate with all the females.
Since nomadic lions are usually brothers, like Mufasa and Scar, that would make Simba and Nala brother and sister. Or at best, cousins? Gross.
It may seem cruel to kill babies, but it is the best way for the males to ensure their genes get passed on to the next generation. During mating, the male lion rakes the walls of the female's vagina with backwards pointing barbs on his penis. This causes the female to ovulate.
I guess this is what Simba was talking about when he asked Nala if she could feel the love tonight.
The cubs are born roughly 4 months after mating. Babies are completely dependent on their mother for the first 2 months of their lives. After that, they slowly get introduced to the pride. The females cooperate to raise the cubs, and even the males spend some time playing with them.
Unfortunately, lion populations are decreasing, and people are the main reason.
150 years ago, there were over 1 million lions in the wild. 30 years ago, there were about 70,000. Today, there are less than half of that. Habitat destruction, poaching, and conflicts with humans are the main reasons for this. As more people move into the savanna and encroach on the lion's territory, it damages and fragments their habitat. It also causes more lion attacks on humans, which leads to lions being killed to protect people.
There are thousands of lions in captivity, but most of them provide no conservation value beyond education, as they're unfit to be released into the wild.
In captivity, lions can mate with tigers, creating ligers and tigons. Some of these hybrids can get really huge and weigh up to 500 kilograms. They're usually infertile except for female ligers who can reproduce with other lions. Another interesting breed is the white lion. This is a rare morph as they're not albino. Their eyes are still pigmented. They're mostly found in South Africa, and they're sometimes bred for canned hunts.
There are efforts to reintroduce lions to their former habitat.
One of the most interesting projects is the Atlas Project, which aims to breed lions that have high proportions of Barbary lion genes. The idea is to recreate the closest possible lion to the extinct Barbary lion and reintroduce them to the Atlas Mountains of Morocco. Hopefully, conservation measures like this will lead to the return of the king in their historic range.
Long live the king! Leopards are the world's most versatile and stealthiest hunters. They have the largest range of all the big cats, and yet, despite this, they're disappearing from the planet faster every year. First things first, panthers are not a specific species, but rather an umbrella term for several big cats in the Panthera genus, including leopards and jaguars. A black panther, when not the king of Wakanda, is also an umbrella term that refers to melanistic big cats. By the way, since Wakanda is in Africa and not South America, Black Panther, the character, would be a black leopard. Leopards, or Panthera pardus, belong to the Panthera genus, and are distantly related to clouded leopards, but have closer ties with snow leopards, tigers, jaguars, and lions, lions being their closest relatives. Leopards are the smallest of the big cats, though that term is a bit tricky. Big cat refers to the 4 members of the Panthera genus that can roar: tigers, lions, jaguars, and leopards. Excluded are snow leopards, which are larger than the Arabian leopard subspecies, but don't roar, clouded leopards, which aren't in the Panthera genus, cheetahs, pumas, and several others. The ability to roar comes from a specialized voice box with a stretchable ligament instead of a solid epihyal bone. This flexible structure allows for the low, deep, uneven rumble that makes up a roar. In small cats, that voice box is a fixed structure that vibrates when breathing, allowing for small cats to purr, something that big cats can't do. Leopards can be tough to tell apart from jaguars, which live in South America, but the easiest way is by their spots, or lack thereof. Both leopards and jaguars have spots on their coats called rosettes, but leopards don't have dots inside the rosette, while jaguars do. Jaguars are also bulkier than their slighter cousins from across the pond. Depending on the species of leopard, their coats vary in color. Those that live in grasslands have lighter coats, and those that live in rainforests have darker coats. Leopards with melanism, so a black coat, are primarily found in the dark rainforests of Southeast Asia, where the darkness gives them advantage over their lighter brethren. Black leopards are not completely black, however, and if you look closely, you'll see that they feature the same rosettes as all leopards. There are 9 extant subspecies of leopard, and they can be found across Africa and Asia, each named for the region they inhabit. Due to this massive range of differing landscapes and terrains, leopards have become masters of adaptability. They are champion hunters, adept at stalking prey in the mountains of northwestern China, the jungles of Thailand, the savanna grasslands of southern Africa, and everything in between. Since their range is so much more extensive than all the other big cats, and since they're the smallest of the big cats, leopards can often find themselves knocked off the top of the food chain if there's a lion, a tiger, or a pack of hyenas present. However, what leopards lack in size, they make up for in stealth. They're the most arboreal of the big cats and often hunt by silently dropping out of trees onto unsuspecting prey. Leopards come equipped with elongated, muscular hind legs that provide the power they need to launch themselves into the trees. In order to get away from competing predators and scavengers, leopards will use their muscular legs to drag their prey back up into the tree, which can be anything from gazelle to baboons to the occasional giraffe. Leopards are pretty speedy, topping out at 58 kilometers an hour, but they aren't chasers, they're ambush predators. They'll wait for prey to enter their trap and then pounce or drop. They can leap forward 6 meters in a single bound and 3 meters directly up. They have huge, thick pads on their feet that dampen the sound of their movement and are very conscious of their surroundings when stalking prey. So if you're ever in leopard territory, better look up. Drop cats. Third only to the jaguar and tiger, leopards are very strong swimmers and have no problem diving underwater for a meal. There's no specific mating season, and males will track females down through scent and follow them around until she decides she's ready to breed. Litters are small, usually 2 or 3 cubs, and they live with mom in a small den or burrow. At 3 months, mom will start taking them out and teaching them to do leopard things. You know, stalking, pouncing, killing, all that fun stuff. Mother will stay with the cubs for about 2 years before they're ready to set out on their own. Leopards are primarily killed by big game hunters and poachers who sell their coats and whiskers, the latter of which are used in some West African potions. While poaching and big game hunting is easy to demonize, the other source of their endangerment isn't. Leopards often hunt livestock in very poor countries, so to keep their herds safe, farmers will often poison or shoot the big cats. An issue that is a bit easier to empathize with than, say, making potions out of their whiskers, coats out of their coats, and killing leopards for Instagram likes. Fortunately, there are programs in place that are making progress, incentivizing local farmers not to kill leopards. Instead, they're encouraged to capture the leopard, which are examined by veterinarians, and then released back into its original territory. Studies have found that the trauma of the capture was enough to keep the leopards from returning to hunt at those farms. Leopards have gone extinct in 6 countries, and there's 6 more on the way. They have vanished from 49% of their historic range in Africa and 84% of their historic range in Eurasia. The Amur leopard is especially threatened, with only 57 remaining in their natural habitat in Russia. That being said, there's good news. As a result of the Russian government establishing a massive 262,000 hectare national park in 2012, Amur leopards have almost doubled in population in the region since 2007.
These strange little wild dogs live among some of the world's most dangerous predators. Monitor lizards fear them, and tigers hate them.
So what makes these tiny dogs such powerful hunters?
Let's take a deep dive into one of the most organized hunters in the world. This is the killer whistler, the dhole.
The dhole is a strange fox-like canid that is somehow in constant struggle with tigers, leopards, monitor lizards, and bears, and has earned their respect through its smarts and grit.
Dholes are about the size of an Australian shepherd, and though they look like a red fox corgi hybrid, they're actually much more closely related to wolves and jackals.
They have survived humans and some of the greatest predators on Earth, partly due to their social life.
Like other canids, dholes live in groups. They usually have about 10 to 15 members, though sometimes separate groups merge to make supergroups of up to 30. Because of the lack of rigid hierarchy, their groups are more commonly known as clans instead of packs.
They're not really egalitarian societies because breeding females seem to be higher in the hierarchy, but they're basically hippie communes full of voracious killers. Wait, are dholes a cult?
When they hunt, the clan splits into smaller units of about 5. They get ready for the chase by play fighting and running around each other. It's like athletes getting ready for the big game, but in their case, the game is deer and other large ungulates. You know, just passing around the deer skin. The meal varies depending on the location, but markhors, tapirs, cheetahs, and even baby elephants are on the menu.
Dholes, like humans, are very visual hunters and communicate using a combination of calls and visual cues.
They usually go out hunting in the morning daylight in groups of 5. That's their optimal hunting group size. Larger groups are harder to coordinate, and smaller groups can't cover as much ground. Usually, one of them will lead the charge, while the rest stay back and cover the flanks.
As they chase their prey, their whistles help them keep track of each other.
If they get close enough, they bite in the legs and sides and try to guide it towards water, where prey bleeds out faster and are less mobile.
If prey refuses to go to water, they just keep on biting until it falls.
In order to survive a dhole attack, prey has to be agile to navigate the forest, quick to outrun their hunter, who runs at 50 kilometers an hour, have the stamina to keep going while injured, and be very, very lucky.
Most animals don't have this set of skills and eventually are captured.
The dholes tear their prey open and quickly eat the most nutritious parts. The heart, liver, and lungs are their favorite organs. They also have to gorge themselves to return to the clan and regurgitate some of their food for the pups and the pregnant females.
It seems a bit unfair not to be able to enjoy your meal after a hard day at work. But for the dholes, finding and killing their prey is only the beginning of their problems. The noise and the smell of blood brings in unwelcome guests. Tigers.
In some areas, they have to share their hunting grounds with tigers, leopards, and due to their more aquatic habitats, Asian monitor lizards. The arrival of a tiger forces dholes to flee, as they're simply too big and too strong to do anything about it.
Leopards can sometimes be fought off if a dhole has backup.
But can be a death sentence when encountered one-on-one. Asian monitor lizards, on the other hand, generally seem pretty chill to share prey with the dhole. Except this guy. He does not seem happy. Well, maybe he's just about to puke. Bears and snow leopards can also show up in parts of their range.
And of course, any of those large predators will not only steal their food, but also hunt dholes.
It's a cat-eat-dog world.
In some cases, a big group of dholes can steal a leopard's prey. It's just another case of kleptoparasitism, a common occurrence in the natural world.
These amazing battles between dholes and big cats used to be common all over the northern hemisphere, but their numbers have shrunk so much that it's become an almost mythical occurrence. There are only about 2,000 mature dholes in the wild, about a tenth of the global polar bear population, and yet we never hear about their plight. Tigers might steal their kills and hunt dholes, but humans are by far their worst enemy.
We have outcompeted them for food, destroyed their habitat, and in some cases put bounties on their heads, like the British did in India in the early 20th century. Today, farmers will often kill dholes to preemptively protect their livestock.
Since their range has been broken up so much, and they've been forced to remote areas with disparate climates, several subspecies have appeared. 7 remain today, and vary in color, fur length, and size. Smaller, darker dholes live in southern India and Southeast Asia, and lighter, fluffier ones live in China, the Himalayas, and other mountainous regions.
Before humans took over, they were found all over Europe. The last European dholes died in the mountains of Italy and Spain about 10,000 years ago. To prevent that from happening to contemporary dholes, conservation biologists are working on specific plans for each country where dholes live.
The plans will include protecting their habitat, raising dholes in captivity and reintroducing them in the wild, providing orphaned pups with dog foster parents, vaccinating them against disease they can acquire from domestic dogs, and launching education campaigns to improve their image in the eyes of farmers.
Changing people's mentality about dholes is crucial and will be tough. They have a reputation for being ferocious and untamable, which, to be fair, is true.
Dholes never become comfortable around people, will bite if approached, and are just generally very wild animals, even if raised in captivity from a young age. In China and India, there are legends about their ferocious behavior, especially their ability to stand up to larger predators and hunt huge prey.
In a story in the Jungle Book verse, Mowgli's wolf family is warned of an upcoming war with the vicious dholes. This isn't even that far-fetched. Wolves and dholes kinda hate each other.
But thankfully, they don't encounter each other very often.
Saving the elusive dhole will take a lot of work and time, but hopefully in a few decades, their numbers will grow and we'll see them rule once again from the tropical jungle to the Himalayas.
Welcome to Animalogic's Holiday Special. We're doing a deep dive into all the animals and plants that make this season special. From whimsical northern ungulates, to poisonous parasites we like to kiss under, to adorably deadly 3-meter-tall bears. These are our favorite wintertime species.
Hi, I'm Danielle Dufault, and you're watching Animalogic. Santa's reindeer, or caribou as we like to call them here in Canada, were either all females or very young males that were replaced every year. Unlike other deer species, both sexes of reindeer grow antlers. Older males' antlers fall off in early December, well before Santa comes around with his flying herd. The females, on the other hand, keep their antlers until early spring. Young males also keep their antlers later into the year, meaning that Santa either replaces his herd of reindeer every year, a chilling thought, or they're all ladies. Take that, patriarchy! There are many different types of reindeer, or Rangifer tarandus, and they can be found throughout the Arctic, tundra, boreal forests, and really anywhere cold in Europe and North America. In A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement C. Moore, the first poem to feature reindeer alongside Santa, the reindeer were described as tiny. If you've ever seen a reindeer, you probably wouldn't use that word. Reindeer weigh up to 180 kilograms or 400 pounds and stand up to 1.7 meters or 5.6 feet tall at the shoulder. Add their massive antlers to that, which can grow up to a meter or 3.2 feet wide and 1.3 meters or 4.2 feet long, and you have anything but tiny. The reindeer in the poem that pull Santa's sleigh were likely the Norwegian subspecies, the Svalbard reindeer, which were much smaller. They weigh around 75 kilos or 165 pounds and measure around 80 centimeters or 2.5 feet tall. It's just so cute. Reindeer start growing those impressive antlers in the spring. The males use them for fighting one another to impress females. And since their mating season is in the fall, there's no need to keep the antlers around much after that. The females, however, keep their antlers, likely to give them a competitive advantage when scrounging for food for her and her baby in the winter months. When the males lose their antlers, the antlered females take the position as top of the food hierarchy. But this doesn't explain why females need antlers in the first place. One theory suggests that female reindeers grow antlers so they'll look like young males. Adult males will confront younger males as soon as they become a threat, potentially even pushing him out of the herd. This strategy is used by the mothers to confuse the adult males as to who the young males really are, buying some time for them to grow bigger before setting out on their own, thus giving them a better chance at survival and continuing the gene pool. A newer theory suggests that female reindeer have antlers because a large part of their habitat is open terrain, and they need those antlers for defense, much more so than, say, white-tailed deer, which live in more densely wooded areas. Reindeer are purpose-built, cold-weather survivors. Their coats are made up of two layers, a woolly inner layer and a long-haired outer layer made up of styrofoam-like hollow hairs. These trap warm air in and keep them insulated from the elements. Not only does this hollow hair provide warmth, but also buoyancy. Much of their territory is made up of rivers, and rivers need crossing. Lucky for reindeer, their hollow fur acts almost like a life jacket, and they ride much higher in the water than other mammals. Not only that, but they employ the same counter-current heat exchange system that ducks do. Basically, the blood that is pumped into their legs is cooled by the blood returning from their legs. This keeps their legs at a temperature warm enough to not freeze, but cold enough that there isn't a massive heat loss. Also, their noses help keep them warm by warming up the air when they breathe in before it enters the lung. They also have adaptive hooves. In the summer months, when everything is wet, their hooves are spongy, which gives them extra traction. But in the winter, when everything sucks and is frozen, the spongy parts harden and form a horn-like rim. Each hoof has 4 toes that they can spread out across the snow, like snowshoes, distributing their weight. The underside of each hoof is hollowed out, and they can use this crevice as a shovel for digging for food through snow. Possibly the most interesting thing about reindeer is their migration. In 1 year, they will travel more distance than any other mammal in the world. They will travel over 5,000 kilometers or 3,100 miles in a year, often covering more than 37 kilometers or 23 miles per day. Reindeer are quiet animals, and outside of mating, they don't make much noise. When they do vocalize, they use large air sacs in their necks that allow them to emit a hoarse, rattling sound, which males use to deter other males, but females use it to tailor individual calls to their offspring, which they need because reindeer herds can be massive. In 2001, the George River caribou herd in Quebec, Canada, reached 385,000. Unfortunately, that number has since shrunk by 81% to 74,000. This trend is sadly happening around the world, and the last 3 decades have seen reindeer number drop by 60% due to climate change and habitat loss. If we could all just be a little more conscious of our actions and their impact, I'm sure we could all make a big and meaningful change.
Mistletoe refers to over 1,000 species in the Santalales order. Now you might be thinking there must be a connection between mistletoe and Santa lilies. It's nothing but a Christmas coincidence, which is, coincidentally, also the name of a 2018 Christmas film starring Kathy Lee Gifford.
Mistletoes are spread over 3 families, commonly known as showy mistletoes, feathery mistletoes, and the sandalwoods. But when we think of the mistletoe, we're usually talking about 2 particular species of the sandalwood or Santalaceae family. Viscum album, aka the common mistletoe, native to Eurasia, and Phoradendron leucarpum, or American mistletoe, which is endemic to North America.
These 2 types of mistletoe are famous for their iconic ball shape, which can grow as wide as 1 meter across.
Mistletoe flowers from March to May with small pale yellow or green blooms, which turn into sticky white berries from September to November.
This plant loves frigid winters, staying fresh and green all season long despite the cold. In fact, this is when it's most noticeable, when the leaves of its host tree have fallen down around it, revealing that iconic, smooch-inducing greenery.
A clue to how mistletoe manages to stay alive while others wither away is in the name. Phoradendron means thief of a tree in Greek. While those evergreen mistletoe leaves are more than capable of creating their own energy through photosynthesis, mistletoe steals nutrients and water from its host tree.
So I may have exaggerated a little when I implied that these plants are cold, hard energy vampires. Mistletoe aren't actually fully parasitic. They're what's called hemiparasites, meaning that they don't have to get all of their nutrients from theft alone, if they don't want to.
And there are times when it's in a mistletoe's best interest not to take too much from its unwilling host. A recent study showed that when a tree is infected with more than 1 mistletoe, each will amp up their photosynthesis to produce more of their own food. This ensures that the host doesn't die, and that the mistletoes too can keep on keeping on.
When they do steal, they do it with haustoria, root-like structures that are able to penetrate the tree's bark and start sucking the juices. If you want to learn more about haustoria, make sure to check out our video on dodder, aka strangleweed.
Along with holly and poinsettias, mistletoe completes the trifecta of Christmas plants that are toxic to humans. While mistletoe may be poisonous to us, birds cannot get enough of their waxy white berries and are the most common spreaders of mistletoe seeds. The seeds are coated in a super sticky film called vicin. They either get stuck to the bird's beak, which then uses the nearest tree branch or twig as a napkin, or they take a short trip right on through the bird's digestive system. The sticky seeds in the bird's poop cling to anything they come into contact with. If they stick to a tree, the mistletoe seed has found the perfect place to set up its new nursery.
The word mistletoe comes from Anglo-Saxon and translates to dung twig. So this winter, when you're kissing your lover under the mistletoe, think of the romantic journey it took from a bird's cloaca.
Despite its reputation for being a parasite, mistletoe knows how to give back. Lots of birds and insects rely on mistletoe for food and shelter. Close to 100 vertebrate families consume its nutritious fruit and nectar, and 50 call these evergreen spheres home. The forest floor, too, wins when mistletoe drops its leaves. Most leaf-losing trees make sure to suck every last nutrient out before letting them fly. But since mistletoe is a parasite and can steal whatever, whenever it wants, it doesn't have to worry about letting go of a few extra nutrients. When these chock-full-of-goodness leaves break down, they give up their nutrients to the forest floor.
So if you see lots of mistletoe in a particular area, it means there's a healthy bird population, and it's a sign of a diverse ecosystem. If all parasites were this lovable, I'm sure we'd see lots more pet tapeworms.
In ancient times, mistletoe was used all over the world to treat a myriad of ailments, from convulsions to hysteria to delirium, with Pliny the Elder himself raving about its cancer-curing powers. Because of its toxicity, however, it lost some of that status as a miracle healer, though it is currently being investigated for its effect on lowering blood pressure.
Adding to its medicinal mystique, the pharmacologically active substances found in mistletoe actually change depending on the host plant.
Mistletoe that grows on nightshade plants, for example, has been found to contain nicotine, while those that grow on coffee plants are hopped up on caffeine.
With so many species of mistletoe, there's a lot of twig to cover. But let's get down to a couple of the more unique and fascinating ones.
First, there's lodgepole pine dwarf mistletoe, Arcithobium americanum, one of dozens of species in its leafless genus.
It's unique in that it disperses its seeds by explosion.
While some plants that we've covered on the channel explode from touch, like Himalayan balsam, or from environmental conditions like the sandbox tree, this species of mistletoe explodes from heat it generates within itself.
It's called thermogenesis discharge, and it's the only plant in the world known to trigger explosive seed dispersal by warming itself up from the inside.
Similarly, the limber pine dwarf mistletoe also spreads its seeds via explosion, using hydrostatic pressure to launch its seeds at speeds of almost 96 kilometers an hour. Tristerix in the Loranthaceae family infects just 2 types of cacti in South America. Instead of growing in festive balls like some, this mistletoe parasite bursts out of the host from inside. Its near inability to photosynthesize sets it apart from its hemiparasitic mistletoe cousins, as Tristerix relies more heavily than others on its host for resources.
So after learning about all the poison and the parasitism, why on earth do we kiss under these things during the holidays? There's a couple contributing stories, starting with Old Norse mythology. And no, I promise this is not the plot of the next Thor movie. Or is it? Taika?
Loki, the god of mischief, had Balder, the god of light and joy, killed with a twig of mistletoe after learning it was the only thing that could harm him. Celtic druids way back in the 1st century CE saw mistletoe as a symbol of virility, since its berries appear in winter when other plants have long withered up. Ancient Greeks and Celts even considered the sticky white berries to be a symbol of male fertility.
Ironically, one study showed that common mistletoe extract actually decreased the quality of sperm in rats. Wah wah.
Through the centuries, the tradition of kissing under the mistletoe came about, though it's not entirely clear exactly when and how. A song published in England in 1784 is generally agreed to be the first reference to kissing under the mistletoe. Originally, it seemed it was just a ruse for men to secure kisses from unwilling women.
However, in a time and place where women had very little agency, some accounts suggest that mistletoe was a totally legit way for a woman to orchestrate a much-desired kiss herself. While mistletoe may still steal nutrients from its hosts, thankfully, stealing kisses from an unconsenting person under one is no longer acceptable. I hope the romance of this toxic parasite helps you score your own consensual kisses this season.
Today we're in Churchill, Manitoba, paying a visit to the king of the north, the largest bear in the world, the polar bear. This is one of the largest towns on the Hudson Bay, and every year thousands of people come to see one of the greatest hunters on earth.
Churchill was originally a port built by the Hudson Bay Company to ship pelts to England and as a fort to protect Canada from an invasion from the Arctic.
As demand for fur dwindled and national security concerns shifted elsewhere, the town of Churchill became an afterthought.
In the late 40s, it was such a forgotten area that Britain had plans to conduct nuclear tests in the region. This would have likely killed the entire bear population. But the weather was too harsh for the British nuclear scientists, and they chose to detonate their bombs in the outback of Australia instead.
The town only became notorious because of stories of bear attacks, and the issues the locals were facing with aggressive bears became international news. The problem bears were initially relocated via plane and helicopter. These dramatic scenes attracted the interest of environmentalists and celebrities who traveled to town to see the bears. These were some of the first polar bear watching tourists.
This is one of the southernmost polar bear populations and one of the most accessible. The geography of the town, as well as the several freshwater rivers that flow into the bay, make the water here freeze earlier than in some more northerly locations. Bears start arriving in the summer and stay on land until the fall. Late October is the best time to see them, as it's when the ice starts to form and bears venture out onto the ice to look for seals. Though if you come here in July, you can see fat bears returning from the ocean and frolicking among wildflowers. One of the few places in the world where this happens. Regardless of the season, driving outside of town requires extreme caution.
This really isn't a place that I'd recommend going for a nighttime jog, unless of course you're faster than a polar bear, which, spoiler alert, you're not.
Polar bears are incredibly fast and powerful on land, but they're technically marine mammals. They're found throughout the Arctic's ring of life. Their scientific name, Ursus maritimus, means the bear from the sea. This is because for most of the year, they're out on the Arctic ice looking for its favorite prey, seals. In a couple months from now, these seals will only be able to breathe by popping up through breathing holes in the ice. And this guy here, he's gonna make a pretty delicious meal for a polar bear in a couple months. The entire biology of their digestive system is geared towards the consumption of marine mammal fat. Seals are a relatively easy prey because they come out of the water to breathe through breathing holes. Polar bears' huge schnozzes can sniff a breathing hole from over 1 kilometer away and will patiently wait for a seal to surface. Once they do, they grab it with their gigantic arms and pull it out of the water. Then, a bite to the head is the coup de grace. When the ice melts, this population of polar bears has to come to land and wait until the ice freezes again. During that time, they don't eat much.
By this time of year, the bears have been fasting for over 4 months, so they're starving. And I'm out here looking like a tasty snack.
Summertime is the lean months for bears, and they have to make do with less nutritious food. Studies have found not only birds, eggs, and small mammals, but also vegetation like grasses and berries in their feces. Sometimes, if they're lucky, a whale will wash ashore and provide a very welcome meal. And on very rare occasions, larger bears have been seen catching the belugas that come to give birth in the Churchill River. But these are only occasional treats, and bears will usually go hungry for about 15 weeks.
Today is going to be an opportunity of a lifetime, and I can't tell you how excited I am. We're going to be going out with Lazy Bear Expeditions on this giant tundra crawler to go and meet some bears on their turf. I can't wait.
These trucks are absolutely massive. The windows are about 3 meters high to prevent even the largest bears from trying something sneaky.
Oh yeah, they're climbing right up onto the vehicle, trying to see us in the windows.
And the observation deck gives us the best view of this majestic tundra landscape.
This is almost worse traffic than Toronto. Arctic traffic. Currently on the observation deck of this Arctic crawler, and I'm as safe as can be up here. Even the tallest polar bear can't reach me. It can see me from below though.
Right now, we're entering the wildlife management area, the best place to safely see polar bears in the region. But out on the tundra, wildlife can be difficult to spot.
Welcome to everyone's favorite game. Is it a rock or is it an animal? Rock and roll, baby. That's an Arctic fox. Oh, negative 50 points. That's a rock. Nope, that's just me reaching rock bottom. What, you thought that was a rock? No, polar bear.
Loser.
Nope, that's Dwayne Johnson, AKA The Rock. All right, let's see the points on the board.
Loser.
This has been Animalogic's Is It a Rock or Is It an Animal? Tune in next week.
After a few hours out on the tundra, we finally spotted our first couple of bears. But they were far away and in an inaccessible spot for us.
They're right there. Oh my gosh. They've just been resting right in the trees.
So we kept searching, and then magic happened. Oh, wow. And there it is. It's our first big, beautiful bear. This polar bear's just taking himself for a little stroll down the side of the Hudson Bay. Now he's probably scanning the shoreline looking for washed up seals or belugas. Any kind of marine mammal would be an easy snack for him if it washed up. And then it got even better. A mama and her yearling cub who came straight up to us to check us out. Oh my god, wait, how many are there? There are two. Two polar bears. This is one of the most magical moments animal lovers can experience. Seeing an apex predator gently approach you and look at you from just a few centimeters away can be life-changing. It's the reason every year over 10,000 ecotourists come here to get a glimpse at the king. No joke, I'm getting so emotional. Mama's coming to see us. I'm face to face with the polar bear, and she's curious to see us.
Don't get too close. It's not cute. It has claws longer than your fingers.
I'm not putting my hand on the thing, don't worry. I don't plan on touching it. And just to tell you, I'm not lying. Smelling my boot. I don't even know how to feel right now, but my eyes can't stop crying. This mama bear is just one of the most beautiful creatures I've ever seen. This might be the most meaningful encounter I've had through all my experience here with Animalogic. I am just so beyond emotional about this, and they're truly fearless. But I feel honored that this bear is giving us some time of its day and showing us its extreme curiosity. Up close, after their beautiful long faces and their bright, curious eyes, the next thing you notice is their gigantic paws. Most of the animals up here have large feet to prevent from sinking into the snow, but polar bears take that to the next level and have evolved these enormous furry paddles. Out in the open water, bears have to swim between ice islands in search of better feeding opportunities. And when the ice melts, they often have to swim back to the mainland. Polar bears can swim vast distances, and some have been recorded to swim up to 800 kilometers over a few days. These trips can be absolute odysseys, and the average adult bear can swim up to 40 kilometers in a single go. This, of course, takes a massive toll on them, and most yearlings don't survive them. To protect themselves from the cold, they have the advantage of being absolutely massive and having a thick coat of fur. Their round shape helps them lose less heat via the skin by decreasing their surface to volume ratio. Like other northern animals, these guys have smaller ears and shorter legs, all to help retain heat.
All the animals out here are basically striving for the same thing: become an orb, obviously. And the reason for that is because an orb has the lowest surface area to volume ratio, and that means it's the best for heat retention. Their coat has 2 layers of dense fur, and below that, there's at least 10 centimeters of fat tissue. Blood vessels attached to their fat deposits can be opened or constrained to help in thermoregulation.
They're also giving us a wonderful view of the fuzzy underside of their feet, which is what helps retain heat and pad them from the frigid cold on the ice.
All of this is necessary for survival, but while cubs build the bulk to be independent, they'll have to rely on mom.
This pair you see behind me is a mother and her cub. The cub is probably getting very close to 2 years, at which point it's time to go forge its own path. But for now, there's still time to take a cozy afternoon nap with mom. My heart.
So this mama polar bear is probably somewhere between 400 and 500 pounds, but at peak weight, she'd probably be more like 700 or 800. The reason why she probably lost so much weight is right behind me. Having a cub is a massive investment for the mother, and that usually means losing up to half of their body weight, just in pure energy expenditure. The Churchill population is notorious because cubs become independent when they're 1.5 years old, as opposed to 2.5 in other populations. The availability of food and denning sites makes their youth a bit easier than that of bears in other areas.
The area around Churchill is rich in peat, and dens built in this kind of soil are especially warm, feeling around -5 even when it's -30 outside. For an animal this well equipped for the cold, it must feel like a warm, comfy sauna.
When the cubs grow older, they come back to their baby dens. But these pampered bears are becoming the exception, and soon their world might change forever.
Though global populations are relatively stable, some populations are declining, mostly due to the shortened winter season in the Arctic.
You've probably seen pictures of starving bears on melting sea ice, and though that's obviously worrying, there's another issue that we'll be forced to tackle within the next couple of decades: human-bear conflict.
Luckily, the experiences of Churchill give us a roadmap to deal with these situations.
While many aggressive bears were successfully relocated, unfortunately, some kept coming back and had to eventually be put down when they got into town. Luckily, there were still military buildings from the old fort days, and an idea came up to lock up the problem bears. It was a 3-strike type of situation.
On their first strike, they'd be locked up for a couple of weeks. On their second strike, they'd be locked up until November. On their third strike, they'd be caught and placed in a zoo or put down if nobody could take them. But bears were still coming into town, and it was discovered that it was the dumpster that attracted the bears the most. More importantly, cubs that were coming to the dumpsters with their moms were more likely to return to town when they were older. That's right, the babies were getting bad habits from their mom. The dumpster was also dangerous for them, as they would basically eat anything with a scent. Antifreeze, battery acid, car oil, anything. The likelihood of intoxication is very high, so the town of Churchill shut it down. The town now ships all of their garbage to a dump far away from bears.
The money from tourism helps fund these measures to protect bears, but there might be issues that money can't fix. Though the global population of bears is hard to estimate and seems to be at the moment relatively stable in some parts of their range, there are areas where they're declining. Polar bears don't travel nomadically around the Arctic, but rather they stay within certain limits called subpopulations.
The most studied subpopulations are those of the Hudson Bay and the Beaufort Sea, and there's strong evidence that they're declining. Longer summers mean longer fasting periods, which lead to lower reproductive rates. In some cases, males will even eat cubs.
In the Hudson Bay, they're also facing extra threats from orcas and grizzlies, which are finding it easier to survive here. Grizzlies are smaller, but can usually beat up a polar bear in combat. Orcas used to stay away from the bay because sea ice would restrict access. But now, with less ice, they're able to get in and take seals and belugas. This competition for resources will affect the polar bears negatively. Despite being surrounded from all angles by these big tundra vehicles, this polar bear is just going for a stroll, not a care in the world. Whole reason? Because it is an apex predator. There's nothing out here that's going to be hunting it, so what is there to be afraid of? More bears are getting into human settlements, which often leads to them being killed. In some areas, there's a belief that polar bears are increasing because they're seen more around town. But this more likely means that they're there because they can't find proper food elsewhere.
Following Churchill's example of identifying and removing problem bears, removing access to garbage dumps, and having a system in place for chasing away the curious bears will save both bear and human lives.
Churchill's strategy might not suit every community in the Arctic, but it does give a well-documented case study on how to deal with human-bear conflict.
Hopefully, more northern communities within the polar bear's natural range will follow this example, and this majestic species will continue to thrive and sploot for years to come. Oh my gosh, it's just a bear sploot. I see my cat do this at home, but seeing the largest carnivoran in the world do the same pose is just mind-blowing.
So where we are right now, it's in the middle of very nice open fields, lots of green space, and because of that I actually hear a lot of other birds around too. There's an oriole singing in the trees, there's some swallows by the nest boxes out there, maybe a couple raptors flying around too. We are now on our way to meet the snowy owl, which I haven't seen in months. Buboscandiacus, aka the snowy owl, is the heaviest owl in North America, though we birders lovingly refer to them as just snowies. Snowies are big birds, and they can weigh up to 2 kilograms, which is a lot for a bird. They stand half a meter tall and have a wingspan of up to 1.5 meters, making them one of the largest owl species in the world. The snowy owl is a circumpolar species, which means it mainly lives way up north, in the Arctic tundra of North America, Europe, and Asia. They like to live in flat open terrain, like the tundra, prairies, or anywhere else with large swaths of open hunting ground.
Snowy owls have the same travel patterns as snowbirds, the name for retirees who fly south for the winter and return back north in the summer.
But not all of them migrate, and some choose to tough it out in the Arctic all year round.
And they dominate the high Arctic skies as the largest avian predator,
which basically makes them the Ice King's blue zombie dragon from Game of Thrones. Except they're alive. And owls.
The snowy owl's white feathers give it the perfect camouflage in winter, an advantage they lose in the summer when the snow melts. Adult females and juveniles are slightly darker in color and sport more dark brown flecks compared to the purer white adult males.
To stay warm, snowy owls are swaddled in feathers from beak to talon. A downy layer of insulation is covered in thick feathers, which blankets their toes and even beaks to keep them toasty in frigid winter temperatures.
Even when the air around them is -50 degrees Celsius, their pretty white parkas help them stay a balmy internal 38 degrees.
To complete the ensemble, they have luminous eyes. These massive eyes give them excellent vision, but also make their faces quite expressive. Snowy owls have got two looks: pissed and shocked. Like most owls, the structure of their feathers is responsible for the snowy owl's ability to fly almost silently. While other birds make a loud flap when they fly, caused by the air turbulence their wings create, the specialized feathers of the snowy owl allow it to silently approach its prey from above. First, the serrated leading edges of the feathers break up the airflow. Then, as the air travels along the wing to the trailing edge, fringed feathers further reduce the air disturbance. Finally, the soft downy feathers of the underside of the wings and legs absorb any additional noise.
It's a perfect combination that enables the snowy owls to permanently operate in stealth mode.
Snowy owls aren't particular about what they eat and will hunt mammals, birds, and sometimes even fish if they're spending time near the coast.
But the snowy owl's favorite snack? A nice, juicy lemming. They can eat up to 1,600 lemmings a year. When life gives you lemmings, make lemonade.
They eat so many lemmings that sometimes they will morbidly line their nests with lemming fur to keep their chicks warm. Snowy owls are opportunistic hunters. Most of the time they catch their prey by sitting on a perch and waiting. They're equipped with excellent vision and even better hearing, so if their target is moving under the snow, they can still hear it. When snowy owls hunt from the air, they generally cruise low to the ground. They're fast flyers and can reach speeds of 80 kilometers an hour. And with their specialized feathers, they cover this ground silently. Once they spot lunch, the snowy owl quickly and quietly goes right in for the kill, snatching their prey with their sharp talons. Like many other birds of prey, the snowy owl likes to eat small prey whole. Their strong stomach juices digest the prey's flesh, while the indigestible parts like teeth, bones, fur, and feathers get packed together into little pellets that the owl regurgitates 18 to 24 hours after feeding. So cute.
A snowy owl needs to eat about 10 rodents a day to meet its nutritional needs. Luckily, their hunting success rate is about 45%. Those are pretty good odds.
The availability of lemmings can often directly impact the snowy owl's ability to nest, with them sometimes foregoing breeding entirely if their prey is scarce.
If they do breed, the male will bring the female a lemming snack. It's the snowy equivalent of chocolate-covered strawberries.
After breeding, the female will make a depression, called a scrape, directly in the tundra to lay her eggs. The more abundant the lemmings that year, the more eggs she will lay. The male will then continue to feed her as she remains atop the eggs for about a month. Once they hatch, Papa Owl continues to bring food to both Mama Owl and their owlets.
At around 7 weeks old, the hatchlings are ready to fly, but Mom and Dad continue to feed them until they're around 10 weeks old.
When they're not breeding in the spring, they like to chill out, all on their own. Like most loners, snowy owls are the shy, silent, mysterious types. Unless somebody trespasses onto their territory or nest.
And that's when the snowy owls go into attack mode, hissing, screeching, clapping their beaks, dive bombing, even striking their intruders. Okay, we get it. You like your space. Unlike most owls, snowy owls aren't nocturnal. They prefer being active during the day, especially in the summer. They really do have no choice though in the Arctic when the days are 24 hours long.
While they usually spend most of their lives in the Arctic, certain conditions, like a strong breeding season, can pull them out of their usual tundra territory and push them further south, causing a snowy owl invasion, known as an eruption. That's eruption with an I, not an E. During the 2013-2014 snowy owl eruption, individuals were spotted as far south as Florida.
Imagine being able to see a flamingo and a snowy owl in the wild on the same day. Talk about a birder's dream.
But seeing snowy owls in the wild is becoming harder and harder. For more on that,
we have a very special correspondent reporting to us live from Alaska. Take it away, Danielle.
All right, this is day 2 at the Kroschel Wildlife Park. And we're here with Steve Kroschel, and he's going to give me an introduction to Ukpik, the snowy owl. Yesterday we tried to make an acquaintance, but he was a little bit shy. So now that he knows my scent and what I look like from yesterday, maybe day 2 he'll be a little bit more open to spending some time with us.
Do you think that snowy owls can smell? I'm not sure.
I wonder.
It's a big question. I keep asking everybody.
I know they can hear really well and see really well, but I'm not sure how much scent would matter to them.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk now because he's right in the cabin.
All right.
And remember that?
Oh.
Oh. Little lower. Okay,
As low as I can go.
Okay, so I'm gonna open the door.
That's Ukpik.
Oh.
Ukpik is looking a little more comfortable this time. I'm gonna stay back here until he retrieves them, because entering an enclosed space with an owl who's not familiar with me might make it uncomfortable. There's only a few birds in the world that have feathers instead of scales.
Yeah.
But an interesting thing about the scales on a bird's feet is that they're actually adapted feathers. So this is the original form that birds evolved before developing scaly feet. This is actually an ancestral condition. This is going great so far. Oh.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh.
That's good.
Oh.
Probably bait. Come with me, Danielle. You're going to walk right alongside, and we're going to walk over here to the snow, and we're going to try to get him on a little mound there so we can talk more about snowy owls.
All right.
Have you ever touched a snowy owl before?
I haven't. Are you sure he's okay with
I
this?
think so. We're going to find out just right
All
there.
right.
They just talk like this.
Oh, you're so soft. Oh, go.
Yeah, that's it.
Aren't you just a beautiful bird?
Yes.
Hey? The snowy owl's name is Ukpik, which is Inupiaq for snowy owl. Pretty self-descriptive. Snowy owls are the poster birds of the Arctic. Yet despite this, snowy owls are disappearing across their range. Getting this close to a snowy owl is something extremely special. There's only about 30 to 40,000 left of these animals in the world. Snowy owls are listed as vulnerable, and every year, their populations decrease. Being taken care of this well in captivity, they can live up to 35 years, which is a long time for a bird. Out in the wild, they can live maybe 10 years at best. In the warm months, snowy owls return to their preferred breeding grounds north of the tree line. In winter, they travel great distances in search of food, preferring flat areas like prairies, fields, marshes, dunes, beaches, and even airport tarmacs. Snowy owls on runways are dangerous for everyone involved because sometimes they will collide with aircrafts. Their attraction to airport tarmacs has led conservationists to trapping and releasing snowy owls far away from the dangers of plane engines. Project SOAR, the Snowy Owl Airport Rescue, is a volunteer organization that does this important work along with rescuing and relocating other species of owls and raptors. Hopefully, as more projects like these take off, we'll see a return of the Arctic's best bird.
Awesome. Did you get that?
Just ruffling your feathers. I'm sorry, did I offend you?
Millions of red crabs begin their march for multiplication. When the first droplets of rain fall on Christmas Island, they swarm out of their forest homes and into the ocean to breed. But their migration needs to be perfectly timed.
In the last quarter of the moon, as the tide wanes, they spawn before dawn.
Nope, this isn't a Wiccan chant. It's the only time a Christmas Island red crab will reproduce.
Depending on when the first rain falls, the crabs either hurry up or take it slow to make this very important date with destiny.
Goose is an umbrella term for birds from 3 separate genera from the same family as swans and ducks. And there's at least 16 different species. The smallest genus consists of the white geese. There are only 3 species, all North American, and they include the beautiful swan goose. These cranky buttes spend their summers in the Arctic and migrate south during the winter. They
They travel in huge gaggles of up to 1 million birds, traversing up to 4,000 kilometers, making them one of the most amazing migration events on Earth.
Then there are the gray geese, which are mostly found in northern Europe and in Asia.
They're so similar to white geese that some scientists argue that white geese should be part of this genus. They all have orange legs and beaks and grayish-brown feathers. The goose you're more likely to have eaten is the gray-leg goose. They were one of the first animals to be domesticated and are considered a Christmas delicacy in northern Europe.
Finally, we have the black geese, a genus which includes the infamously aggressive Canada goose.
Black geese are generally brown or black and have black legs and beaks. They're mostly found in North America with 2 exceptions, the Hawaiian nene and the Siberian red-breasted goose.
If you've ever been attacked by a goose in North America, it was probably a Canada goose. For Canada geese, peace was never an option.
Their beaks and tongues are serrated with papillae that help them cut plant matter and filter mud when they drink from puddles. The result is one of the most terrifying beaks of all birds.
They might not be able to do much damage to a grown person, but you don't want to put your fingers on the business end of that mouth.
Canada geese are extremely protective animals that have adapted very well to urban habitats. Cities provide lots of food and protection from predators. They have no fear of people and are comfortable racing their goslings in our parks.
They were once protected along with other migratory species, but over the past 50 years, their numbers have exploded, and there are now over 7 million Canada geese in North America.
The main issue is that human activity has changed their migration patterns. Up until the urbanization of North America, Canada geese would breed in the Arctic in the summer and travel south for the winter. As humans built better parks and offered protection from foxes, wolves, and other predators, they started to stay put year-round.
And being here year-round means that they litter our parks with poo. Lots and lots of poo.
Every goose and gander produces up to 1 kilogram of feces every day. All this poo contaminates waterways and has also caused an increase of pathogens in parks and lakes.
So if you go to the beach, just make sure that there aren't a lot of droppings around.
One of the reasons they poo so much is because they eat our leftovers. They have been observed breaking into dumpsters and trash cans, but some people feed them to get on their good side.
In the short term, this is great for geese because they get a lot of yummy food.
But in the long term, they end up eating too many carbs and proteins, which can make them sick and cause deformities.
The most common of these ailments is angel wing, in which some of the wing bones don't form properly.
This causes their primary feathers to point outwards and limits their ability to fly. In severe cases, it causes death, as geese get rejected by their family or become easy prey for predators.
Being part of a family and being so protective of it are some of the reasons that geese are so successful.
Some species, like the gray-lag goose, mate for life, while others, like the Canada goose, stay together for a whole breeding cycle. Having a long-term partner increases the chances of their goslings' survival. It has also been noted that the single geese get more stressed out than the paired birds, particularly during confrontations.
But it's not all a romantic fairy tale. Paired geese are known to occasionally mate with other geese if the opportunity presents itself. Hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
A relatively high number of goose pairs involve 2 members of the same sex. In gray-leg geese, up to 20% of couples are 2 ganders. They also reportedly have stronger connections than the other pairs, as they perform more displays for each other. And they don't have to worry about taking care of goslings.
When it's time to migrate, they most commonly fly in V formations.
The formation saves them energy by reducing wind resistance. The goose in the front leads the skein, but also gets a lot more tired. When its shift is over, it falls back and another goose takes over the lead spot.
Great teamwork, you lovable jerks. Today, we're having a frosty time in Jasper looking for elk.
The Canadian Rockies. A vast mountain range, surrounded by thick forests, glaciers, and Great Plains. This challenging ecosystem is home to the most iconic Canadian mammals. Moose, beaver, and grizzly bears can be found here, just a stone's throw away from each other. But the real king of these mountains actually wears the crown.
Today, we're in Jasper National Park, and right behind me is an entire herd of one of the largest species of the deer family, the elk.
Cervus canadensis are commonly known as elk, but in Europe, moose are also called elk. To avoid confusion, we can call them wapiti, which is the Shawnee and Cree word for them. Regardless of what you call them, they're second in size only to the massive moose. Those pomade-antlered giants can be up to 800 kilograms, but the wapiti is not far behind, tipping the scale at about 600 kilograms.
The bulls can be about 30% larger than the females, with massive lads.
They're so big and grow so fast that a 6-month-old baby wapiti is larger than an adult white-tailed deer. That size means that only the most powerful predators can take them down. Wolves, bears, cougars, and even tigers are their main predators. Yep, they go against Siberian tigers. Unfortunately, they have been overhunted by humans, and their current range is mostly limited to Siberia, the Rockies, and some isolated pockets of North America and Asia. Luckily, around these lands, they're still abundant, and when we were there, it was the best time to see them.
Late fall is the breeding season for these elk, so it's very important to keep our distance. Their pheromones are going to be driving them wild. The males are blocking antlers, and the females, well, they're interested in what they've got to show.
During this period, the bulls follow females and can establish harems of over 20 cows. But heavy is the head that wears the crown. In order to keep charge of his harem, bulls need to fight off challenging males.
Did you hear that? One of the males just bugled. What an amazing sound. It's so haunting. This male thinks he has what it takes to topple the king. Oh my god, he's coming this way. Oh, he lowers his head. He's squaring off with the larger bull. Oh wow, he was looking for better footing, but then he decided to just charge in.
They crash into one another, locking antlers.
Oh no! Come on, little guy! They are locked in battle, pushing each other back and forth, trying to knock the other over. That's amazing!
But the challenger didn't stand a chance. This dominant bull is just too massive. The young buck will live to munch another day. The dominant male remains the head of the harem, but he still needs to put the work in for the ladies. To woo them, he uses a bit of an unusual strategy: urine. The male's urethra points up towards its belly, and when it pees, it soaks its underbelly. Over time, it starts to reek of pee and pheromones, which cows find irresistible. Their pee stain is their chick magnet. But just because cows are attracted to them doesn't mean they'll mate with the dominant bull. He'll try his luck by seductively licking the air. If she picks up what he's putting down, she'll let him mount her. But in this case, it seems she'd rather do anything else. The male leaves her to join another bull for a meal. Bros before does, I guess. For these wapiti, it's the middle of the rutting season, so the male's antlers are as big as they will be before they fall off. You should never approach an elk, but you should especially never approach a male elk during rutting season. It's definitely an advantage for elk to lose their antlers for the winter, because they're heavy, they radiate a lot of heat, and when there's no reason to fight, why do you need antlers anyway? An elk's antlers will grow back every single spring like clockwork. It's one of the fastest growing tissues on the planet, at 2.5 centimeters every single day. The antlers can grow to about 1.8 meters in length and weigh up to 8 kilograms. Absolutely massive. They don't only need those antlers for fighting with other male wapiti, but also for warding off attackers. As a blizzard started to move in, we thought our day was over. But then, in the distance, we spotted something. We weren't the only ones following this bull. Across the field and through the trees, a pack of wolves. Oh my God, there they are. A pack of gray wolves has been tracking this bull. Down across the field, there's a whole pack of wolves trying to take down a bull elk. This isn't gonna go well. They start their attack. I'm gonna try and get down and get a better vantage point. But this won't be an easy kill. Bull elk are massive, and the wolves will need to coordinate if they're to be successful. The packs surround the elk. Oh my God, this is insane. The pack moves in, snapping at the elk, going for the neck. But this elk isn't going down without a fight. Guys, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. But in the end, the pack was too much for one elk to hold off alone. Today, we're talking about a cute ball of feathers that has taken over some of the coldest ecosystems in the Northern Hemisphere, the ptarmigan. Ptarmigans belong to the same family as chickens, though they're more closely related to grouse. There are only 3 types of ptarmigans: the white-tailed ptarmigan, found only in the western part of North America, and the widespread willow and rock ptarmigan, which live in the northern parts of Eurasia and North America. But we're in the home of the transformers of the bird world, the willow and rock ptarmigans. This area, with freezing cold temperatures that reach -40 degrees Celsius, snow that can be several feet deep, enough to cover them several times over, and thriving with Arctic foxes, is a dangerous place to live. Ptarmigans have to adapt to give themselves a chance at survival. Below their cuddly, snowball-like appearance hides a crafty animal with a ferocious roar.
Yeah, maybe it's not as ferocious as we thought.
Oh, these ptarmigans are making all kinds of noises. Oh, there's one that sounds like Wario. Hilarious calls aside, these little guys prepare for winter in truly dramatic ways. The most obvious is their change of coloration. These ptarmigans behind me are just about done transitioning from their summer plumage, which is a rusty brown, to their stark white, beautiful feathers. And you can see some of them are still a little bit spotty. Their feather coloration, like the Arctic fox's fur, is an adaptation for camouflage. In the summer, their color helps them blend in with the dirt and the vegetation of their northern habitat, while in the winter they turn the color of snow to hide from predators. Sometimes, temperatures drop enough to trigger their transformation before the snow falls. This makes them dangerously conspicuous, but it also makes it easier for us to see their most amazing biological feature, the mammalification of their feet. And yes, I just made that word up, but you'll see what I mean. In the winter, their feet grow a thick layer of feathers that act as a fur coat. Their claws grow to increase the surface area of their feet and give them essentially furry winter boots. Their claws will also be essential for digging burrows to shelter during the harshest months of the year. The willow ptarmigan's scientific name is Lagopus lagopus, which means hare-footed, twice. This is an apt comparison, as many of their body parts have adapted to look the same. Because this is a hare's foot, and this is a willow ptarmigan foot. Looks very similar. It's almost like everything out here is trying to be a hare, or at least a white fuzzy orb. Now, they might be the hare-footed bird, but they also kind of look like hares. From a distance, they share a very similar silhouette. And they're not alone. Animals across Arctic climates tend to have a very similar winter body. A lot of the animals out here have evolved along Allen's law, which is the idea that you reduce your surface area to volume ratio in order to retain more heat. These ptarmigan are no exception. They've got a shorter beak, shorter legs, and even a shorter tail to get closer to that perfect orb form. This adaptation is seen mostly in the willow ptarmigan's northernmost populations. In more temperate places, like the British Isles, they keep their summer outfits throughout the year. Arctic and subarctic populations are the buxom beauties of the family. Of course, keeping warm is just a part of surviving in the Arctic. Finding food is another major problem. Luckily for these snowbirds, they have adapted to survive on extremely calorie-deficient food. Twigs make up the majority of their diet until the thaw. This is also when chicks are born. Ptarmigan chicks will eat insects and young greens, but as they grow up, they become completely herbivorous. Only the best for baby. A steady source of protein keeps chicks happy and gives them a fighting chance in a ruthless environment. By the following winter, they will come back here and congregate in groups of up to 2,000 birds. This protects from predators such as foxes and birds of prey. Here, safety is in numbers. Wow! This whole flock of ptarmigans just took off, and there's about 70 of them. These flocks are formed by several families. Oftentimes, the families will just stick to themselves, but every now and then, they'll gather into a flock like this. Except this guy. This guy's like, nah, I'm too good for them. It's always one ptarmigan. Too cool for school. So catch up, buddy. It's dangerous to go alone. Today, we're in Churchill, Manitoba, home of the polar bear, looking for its unlikely occasional companion, the Arctic fox. This frigid landscape on the west side of Canada's Hudson Bay has an average winter temperature of -25 degrees Celsius, with some days getting as cold as -45 degrees. It is no home for the weak. Without proper gear, a person could develop hypothermia in as little as 5 minutes. Welcome to the set of Animalogic.
Today we're blessed by the presence of this beautiful Arctic fox.
These canids are relatively small, at about 60 centimeters in length and weighing just over 3 kilograms. They're just slightly larger than a Chihuahua. And yet, they can survive in the expanse of the Arctic. In the past, we've talked about how animals in colder climates tend to be larger than in the tropics. Having more fat and a smaller surface area relative to volume helps them keep warm. But Arctic foxes buck that trend.
So how do they survive in one of the coldest and most unforgiving climates on Earth? Well, through a multi-pronged survival strategy. The first and most crucial part is being really good at withstanding the cold.
Even at extreme temperatures, Arctic foxes can keep warm due to their multi-layered pelage. About 70% of it is a fine underfur that acts similar to down on birds. Even the pads on their toes are covered in fur, a feature that gives them a rabbit-like appearance.
Their scientific name, Vulpes lagopus, means hare-footed fox, as this furry pad adaptation is unique among canids.
Fur alone doesn't keep you warm, and usually heat gets lost through the skinniest parts of your body. To avoid this, Arctic foxes have short snouts, ears, legs, and tails.
You can see that her ears are actually very short and round, and that's one of the key adaptations that helps her hold on to her heat. Long ears are a little too good at radiating heat outwards, so if they're shorter and rounder, they help her hold on to that heat closer to her body. Her legs are also a lot shorter than other species of foxes, which again helps retain the heat close to her body.
During cold snaps, they basically roll themselves into a ball to minimize heat loss. But the Arctic fox's coolest cold-fighting adaptation is something called countercurrent blood circulation. This is basically a mechanism that keeps the fox's paws at a lower temperature than its core. Blood entering the paws is used to heat up the blood that's leaving, which prevents the fox's core from being cooled down by losing heat out of its extremities. But just like Thanos, extreme cold in the Arctic is inevitable. But Arctic foxes can withstand it like nobody else. Their metabolic rate doesn't go up until it's minus 50. And they don't even start shivering until it's minus 70 degrees Celsius, which is as cold as it gets in the Arctic. Only the barren plateaus of Antarctica get colder than this. By slowing down their metabolic rate in the cold, their food will digest slower and their bodies will store sugars and fats longer. But it's no guarantee they won't starve. Food is scarce in a harsh Arctic winter.
All of this sounds like problems that other animals would solve by being bigger. But being large is energetically expensive, and for most of the year, there isn't much to eat around here.
During the summer, when their fur turns brown to help them blend in with their environment, the pressure is on to eat as much as possible. On an average day, an Arctic fox will patrol the beach during low tide to hunt for fish and invertebrates caught in tide pools. Waterfowl provide ample feeding opportunities. Nesting birds and their eggs are taken with such gusto that a single Arctic fox can consume over 1,000 eggs in a single season. Voles and lemmings are also heavily consumed when available, but these species go through boom and bust periods, and are usually only readily available every 3 to 4 years. But when they're abundant, they make up to 70% of the fox's diet. Arctic foxes' ears are adapted to hear the frequency of their prey's chirps and steps under the snow. And then they strike, diving headfirst into the snow to ambush their prey.
Foxes foxes are universally known as being smart and resourceful. Arctic foxes are no exception. They figured out that by living in the subarctic, they can refrigerate their food by simply burying it in the snow.
Saving food for the lean months can be a literal lifesaver. Some of the caches are huge, and in some cases, they can hold over 100 birds, most commonly petrels and auklets. By the end of fall, they will have increased their weight by up to 50%. But that doesn't mean they can just wait it out until spring. Even when they have food stashes, finding food is a year-round challenge. But everything is much harder in the winter. In the northern part of their range, the sun sets in late November and doesn't rise again until January. During those long, dark days, temperatures dip into the -40s. If they can't find anything to eat, they won't see the sun rise again, and they will die in the dark.
One of their survival strategies is to follow this ecosystem's apex predator and hope to eat its leftovers.
Polar bears are seal specialists, and once they catch one, they make sure to eat all the fat, which is premium bear fuel. Muscles and other soft tissues are sometimes left behind, and that's when Arctic foxes come in. It's sort of a free meal, but it means traveling vast distances. They've been seen as far as 800 kilometers away from the nearest landmass, and about 150 kilometers from the North Pole. And beyond that, it means being exposed to lots of predators, such as wolves, wolverines, eagles, owls, and even domestic dogs. Unfortunately, 3 out of 4 Arctic foxes don't make it past their first winter, and in adults, the mortality rate is still very high at about 33%.
Those who do survive the winter go back to their home ranges for the most beautiful time of the year. Mating season!
Foxes are monogamous and live in labyrinthine dens and tunnels, which can be up to 1,000 square meters. Dens are reused every year, and some have been reported to be over 100 years old. The largest ones have dozens of chambers and close to 100 entrances. These furry real estate moguls are usually monogamous, but sometimes live with extended family groups. This is most common in the southern part of their range, where food is more abundant.
Because of their high mortality rate, these cuties produce a fox ton of babies.
The record for biggest litter is 22, which is one of the largest of all mammals. Parents feed them until summer, but after that, they're forced to go out and become independent. Females sometimes stay nearby, but males have to go far away, sometimes up to 200 kilometers away from their native range. Males defend their territory aggressively and mark it with bodily fluids on conspicuous places, such as mounds of polar bear poo, an unorthodox but effective pedestal.
Another of their unique features is their color-changing fur, which is chocolate in the summer and vanilla in the late fall.
The color changes help them camouflage better, be it on the brown tundra or on the white ice. But unfortunately, all of these adaptations made their fur too desirable. As recently as the late 70s, over 40,000 Arctic foxes were being taken every year. This, combined with climate change and diseases such as rabies, have led to dwindling numbers. As the permafrost melts, red foxes, which are twice as big as their northern cousins, are also moving northward and taking over the Arctic fox's domain.
But thankfully, their range is enormous, and because they reproduce so quickly, there are still enough foxes to consider them a species of least concern.
The Canada lynx is the most northern-dwelling wildcat in the world. Found mostly in Canada and Alaska, its range is massive and more northerly than any other feline, with its cousin, the Eurasian lynx, being a very close second. The Canada lynx's range is limited by the tree line, relying on the cover of foliage to hide their approach from their prey. As climate change is warming the globe, the northern edge of their range will expand as it becomes warm enough for trees to grow, making the Canada lynx one of the few species that benefits from climate change. At least in this one very specific instance. To get a closer look at them, we traveled to the boreal forests of the Yukon during an early winter cold snap. Temperatures were balmy, peaking at about -45 degrees Celsius, but the frozen noses and toes were worth it to see one of the most iconic yet elusive cats in the world. We finally made it all the way to the Yukon. This is the furthest north I have ever been. We're here to look for some of North America's most incredible cold climate creatures. The Canada lynx's range overlaps with the cougar around the slopes of the mountains of the Pacific Northwest. But luckily, they avoid conflict by going after different prey. Usually. Cougars can weigh up to 100 kilograms and routinely hunt for sheep, goats, and deer, which can be even larger than they are. Canada lynx are much smaller, about the size of an English Cocker Spaniel with a maximum weight of 15 kilograms. The Canada lynx is the second largest member of their genus, after the Eurasian lynx. But they're much larger than their other two cousins, the endangered Iberian lynx and the bobcat, which is technically a lynx.
Oh, look at those fluffy tails.
This might seem surprising, because at first sight, they look like large house cats. But they're basically just a thick coat of fur wrapped around 4 stilts. Their fur is about 10 centimeters long in the winter, so if you were to poke one, your finger would disappear in their fur, and then you'd lose it. You shouldn't poke a lynx. #science. These frosty felines have extra long hind limbs, but they're not designed for a long-distance chase. What they are good for is bounding out of the snow and pouncing on their prey. Living in environments full of ice and snow for most of the year makes chasing impractical. So Canada lynx, much like foxes, polar bears, and other northern carnivores, are ambush predators. But before going out on the hunt, you need a big stretch to limber out. Stretch. Oh, that's good. They use their amazing sense of smell and hearing to find their prey's dens. They wait patiently for them to come out, and then they strike. This lynx is on the prowl. Just beyond the tree line, it spotted its next meal. A mallard. It waits patiently for the mallard to get within striking distance. Its gray coat camouflages the lynx perfectly against a tree. And then, it pounces. It quickly snaps the mallard's neck, punctures its throat, and carries it off into the woods to devour. The lynx calls the boreal forest its home and never really travels beyond the tree line into the tundra because it is so closely reliant on its food sources in the forest. Canada lynx are one of the most specialized predators on Earth. One single prey species can make up to 97% of their diet in parts of their range. For Canada lynx living in those areas, their lives depend on the deaths of snowshoe hares. This reliance on snowshoe hares is particularly important in the northern part of their range, where there isn't much else to eat. An average lynx catches 3 hares a week, and when there are too many lynx, this causes a hare population collapse. Every 8 to 11 years, snowshoe hare populations dip below a critical point, and the local lynx are unable to get enough food to survive. Snowshoe hare density can fall from over 2,300 hares per square kilometer to about 12 hares per square kilometer in under 2 years. That's a 99.99% decline in the span it took to reboot Spider-Man. The lynx are then forced to leave the area, sometimes traveling up to 1,000 kilometers in search of food. They will have no babies for up to 2 years. Many lynx starve during this period. Some die of natural causes, exacerbated by the lack of food, and others are forced to go for more dangerous prey and end up dying. This causes a collapse in lynx populations, which eventually leads to a recovery of the snowshoe hares. Then the lynx return, they start having babies, and the cycle starts anew. All of this has happened before. All of this will happen again. These cats only live where snowshoe hares are abundant, and because they face the same environmental challenges, they have convergently evolved to be very similar. The old saying, "you are what you eat," does seem to apply to the Canada lynx because it shares a few adaptations with its main prey, the snowshoe hare. One of the biggest issues for small animals in these regions is how to get around when there are several feet of snow on the ground for over half of the year. Getting stuck in a snowbank can easily be fatal. The lynx's paws are truly massive. This helps them distribute their weight across the snow and acts very much like a snowshoe. Yet another thing it has in common with the snowshoe hare. They're up to 10 centimeters across, which is cartoonishly huge for an animal their size. It would be like a beagle having paws the size of paperbacks. They have short tails and ears to reduce heat loss, and they have 2 layers of densely packed fur to keep them warm at temperatures as cold as -60 degrees Celsius. Here in the Yukon, we were lucky to see a brand new mom. It is extremely beautiful here, but it's just as cold as it is pretty. Everything is just frosted and dusted with snow. Apparently there's giant mountains here. I just can't see them yet through all the snow. We arrived here in the Yukon pretty late last night, just past midnight. There's only about 4 hours of sunlight per day here, so we need to work fast. Try and find some animals, get some good footage. We're about to go see some Canada lynx, and I am so beyond excited. These animals are one of my favorites on the planet. Oh my God, here they come. There's Mama and her kitten. Go! Oh! Did you hear that? Yeah. The mating season is spring, and babies are born in early summer, so this kitten is about 5 months old. She'll stay with her mom until next spring, but won't become sexually mature until the following year. At this age, she can go out with mom on her hunts. Oh, that's a feisty little kitten. She's trying to snag the meat away from her own mom. Snowshoe hares are still the main priority, but they won't reject carrion or other easy-to-catch prey like grouse. Canada lynx are more active at night, but their great senses of smell and hearing can alert them to roadkill or other available prey. In this case, it's the remains of a bird. At night, when they're out on the hunt, they're more likely to run into other lynxes in their range who are doing the same thing. These conflicts can get awkward. We get it. You don't like each other. The Canada lynx has disappeared from the most southerly limits of its range, but is still relatively abundant in most of Canada and Alaska. It's considered a threatened species in the contiguous 48 states, but it has been successfully reintroduced to Rocky Mountains in Colorado, and there, their populations are growing. If you live somewhere near snowshoe hares, keep an eye out for one of the world's most unique, beautiful, and mysterious cats. You could be in the presence of a Canada lynx. Being this close to a mama lynx and her cub was incredibly heartwarming, and we couldn't get enough. So we left the Yukon and drove 400 kilometers to Alaska to meet up with Steve Kroschel, who happens to be friends with a big male lynx. So, for the second time this week, I am hanging out with a Canada lynx. Our first stop here at the Kroschel Nature Center is to see a lynx. They've got a male one here, and his name is Lynx.
This is the land of misfit animals. Walk with me, Danielle.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to enter the lynx enclosure.
Keep walking, Danielle. Come right with me now. We are friends, after all.
Wish me luck.
I will protect you. Now, I've never let anybody come in here before.
Oh, really?
No,
Okay.
this is a first. And you just
Well,
surprised me.
thank
So
you. Thank you for the
close the
honor.
door. Now, it's a wild and dangerous animal. It's in its territory. You see, so go ahead and shoot. Shoot. You should be
Oh,
safe.
I am.
You should be safe. And
This is such an honor to be sharing space with the lynx. This
Well.
is a dream.
yeah, they're. I've worked with lynx my whole life.
Yeah.
The ecology, you see. Now, what I'm going to do here, because he's curious, walk over here on this right side, so I'll protect you. I'm giving him space. And what we're going to do is just talk to him here. Now, I have various calls, and I'd like you to make these calls with
Oh,
me.
I'd love to.
The call is as follows. Yeah, see? Perfect. Okay, now toss this tidbit, this part.
Okay.
Your glove mitten's going to be dirty, but is that
That's
okay?
fine. I can wash them.
Now, call it. Now toss it there. Make that call again, Danielle. Okay, here somewhere.
Can I?
Now throw it. That's it.
I do spend all day talking to my cat in her language, so this isn't so different.
Good job, Danielle.
Thank you.
You're building a relationship. Come on over here. Now just.
He's really been marking this carcass, eh?
Yeah. Now what you want to do
Yeah.
is just purr, because they do purr. You see. No, like this.
Oh, that's a very different perk.
Yeah. Well, you're building a relationship with the lynx.
It's
You like
beautiful.
that?
It's one of my dreams come true, essentially.
He did not become aggressive.
So kind.
See, you give off a frequency that the animal can understand. That's the thing. Various people give off various frequencies, and animals can read it. They read honesty, sincerity, and all of these good things, all these virtues, and the animal can tell that.
I believe in that very much. All the animals I've ever had in my life have been great judges of character from the get-go.
That's the lie detector of the wild.
Of course, the don't pet a lynx rule doesn't apply if you're Steve. Oh, that was so sweet. Thanks for having us. Today, we're in the polar bear capital of the world, Churchill in northern Manitoba. But instead of focusing on the world's most popular bear, we're going to look for something a little smaller and rounder. I just spotted a hare, so we're gonna try and get a little bit closer, get a good view. The Arctic hare is a species of hare in the Lepus genus, which is made up of hares and jackrabbits. Its scientific name is Lepus arcticus. Lepus is the Latin word for hare, and arcticus refers to its natural habitat. You can find Arctic hares in the tundras, plateaus, and coasts of the Canadian Arctic Islands, northern Canada, Greenland, and as far south as Newfoundland and Labrador.
Brr. If I lived outside in this kind of cold, I'd very quickly become a large human-shaped ice block.
But the Arctic hare has managed to adapt quite nicely. For one thing, they pay very close attention to their weight.
Arctic hares pack on the pounds during the summer and end up composed of about 20% body fat. Those love handles are great energy reserves and also serve as insulation during the winter.
On average, these guys tend to weigh between 7 and 11 pounds, but particularly large Arctic hares can get up to 17 pounds. If you're thinking, hey, that's really big for a hare, you're right, that's really big for a hare. In fact, the Arctic hare is one of the largest lagomorphs in the world. Lagomorphs are the hares, rabbits, and pikas that belong to the order Lagomorpha.
This hare is easily the size of a small dog. It's definitely bigger than my cat. And to be honest, it's bigger than both of my dogs too.
Fat isn't the only thing that helps them survive the cold. Their compact bodies have a low surface area to volume ratio that conserves heat.
A healthy hare is shaped like an orb. You may not like it, but this is what peak hare performance looks like.
It's why their adorable black-tipped ears are so short, less skin to get cold.
They have natural sunglasses in the shape of thick, luscious black lashes that help reduce the glare from sunlight bouncing off the snow.
And check out their thick fur, so warm. The color of their fur depends on the weather. In the summer months, hares can be grayish-brown. This helps them blend in with rocks and earth. But when cold, snowy weather arrives, the hares turn white to match. It's expert levels of camouflage. Arctic hares that live very, very north may stay white all year long. Wait, where's the hare? Oh, I didn't see you there.
If I had a hard time spotting them, it's gotta be a challenge for the hare's many predators.
The foxes, wolves, big cats, and raptors.
The Arctic hare, as well as its fellow cold-weather lepuses, the mountain and snowshoe hares, provide much-needed protein for the ravenous predators of the north.
Hey, let go of that mountain hare. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, never mind. It's dead. Definitely dead. That was the scariest tug of war I've seen since Squid Game. With so many predators on their tails, the Arctic hare is super shy. I'd tell them to get out more, but in this case, being an introvert is a necessary survival technique.
These hares have incredible vision. With eyes set on the side of their head, they're on constant lookout for threats from all 360 degrees.
But hiding isn't their only means of survival. They also have speed on their side. Go, go, go! That was a close one.
Arctic hares are total speed demons.
They can bound like a kangaroo at 45 kilometers an hour, but in case of an emergency, they can turn on the nos and go 60 kilometers an hour on all fours. The hare uses its long claws on its hind legs to dig into packed ice and snow and leap forward up to 3 meters at a time. Their long claws also help them dig holes in the snow to keep warm and sleep. Sometimes they'll huddle with other Arctic hares for heat, but usually they're found alone. Sleeping, resting, and hiding is a vital part of the hare's survival in the Arctic. They can't afford to waste any unnecessary energy, especially in the winter when food is hard to come by.
Though mainly herbivorous, they won't pass up the opportunity to eat meat if given the chance. They have been found eating fish and even caribou carrion.
They mostly forage for yummy treats like twigs, bark, moss, grass, leaves, buds, and berries. They get their water by eating snow and chewing ice. Arctic hares mate in April or May. The males may battle over females, with the male literally placing his paws over the female's back and fighting off other males who want her. Eventually, everybody finds their match, and some males will mate with more than one female. All that worry for nothing.
The term breeding like rabbits really doesn't apply to the Arctic hare. The resources out here are too few and too precious, so they only have 1 litter per year.
The female hare will make a little nest using a layer of grass and a layer of her own fur for extra warmth. A single litter of 2 to 8 babies will be born anywhere from May to July. Unlike rabbit babies, Arctic hare babies, called leverets, are born with fur coats and their eyes open. They can hop within a few minutes of being born.
The leverets grow fast, and by the first frost, they're already full size.
They'll be able to breed and have babies of their own the following summer. I know it sounds fast, but keep in mind that Arctic hares only live about 5 years in the wild. If you think about it, surviving 5 years in this kind of cold is nothing short of a miracle.
Oh my god, I can't feel my toes. Can we go inside now? Today we're in northern Yukon, meeting the shaggiest hoofed mammal north of the Arctic Circle, the muskox.
This video was made possible thanks to the support of our sponsor, Wondrium. You may have heard us talk about the Great Courses Plus before, and now that team has shifted to a new name, Wondrium. But it's not just a new name. They're creating bigger, better, and more exciting content than ever before. Wondrium offers the same mission as before, educational content that's approachable, entertaining, and illuminating. It's a museum for your mind. We've been big fans of the team over at Wondrium because we use the service. While researching this episode, we watched the amazing doc, Earth's Changing Climate. It gives you an in-depth explanation of the effects of climate change on the wildlife of the Arctic and subarctic. It's a must-see documentary. If you've ever wondered about anything, Wondrium will be your new favorite place. And they're giving viewers of Animalogic a free trial. You can support the show by clicking the link in the description or by going to wondrium.com/animalogic. Thanks, Wondrium! While muskox are part of the Bovidae family that includes cattle, bison, and buffalo, they're actually in the Caprinae subfamily, which means they're more closely related to true goats and sheep than oxen. The musk in muskox comes from a strong odor males emit during the mating season to attract a female. This eye-watering scent, however, isn't technically a musk, since it doesn't come from a musk gland.
So really, they're neither musky nor oxen. Aren't names fun?
The smell actually comes from the preputial gland in the male's genitals and is spread all over his underbelly with urine.
It's the ungulate equivalent of Axe body spray. If Axe body spray was made of stinky pee, which, let's be honest, isn't it?
Oh, I'm so excited to see these muskoxen. And these are a true relic of the Ice Age. They've been around here in Canada for a long time, and everything currently indicates that they will still be here for much time to come.
Standing at only 1.5 meters tall at the shoulders, muskoxen are stocky, heavyweight herbivores and can weigh up to 360 kilograms.
When it comes to colder climates, being bigger isn't necessarily better. I'd say these muskoxen have the right idea, because they've evolved to have a much more compact and low-to-the-ground body, which helps them retain their heat. Both male and female muskoxen have long, sharp horns. The horns grow from an area on the forehead called the boss. In males, the boss is extra thick at about 10 centimeters. From the boss, the horns grow down the sides of the head and hook upwards, giving them their distinct 90s heartthrob look. Their horns are used both to protect the herd from predators and during mating duels.
During the mating season, larger herds break into smaller breeding groups with a single dominant male, keeping the other males at bay.
This is what you call a Yukon standoff. The stakes are high for this lone male, who will engage in brutal contests to keep his status as top bull of the group. Seeing another male on his turf, This bull charges through the snow. He smacks into his opponent at breakneck speed. I just heard them bash their heads together. They use these big horned bosses on top of their heads. The base of their horns actually curves downwards and then back up, which forms a big protective kind of casque on top of their heads. And that's what they'll use to bash each other with. And these males are challenging each other. Their thick horn bosses ensure they don't just die on the spot from a complex skull fracture. The bull backs off and shakes his head. This is meant to intimidate the other muskox, but it also increases blood flow to their heads. This is thought to give their brains extra padding for when they start ramming each other, and is observed in other members of its family. Their clashes are violent affairs. They ram into each other with the equivalent force of a car hitting a concrete wall at 30 kilometers an hour. On a calm day, you can hear the smash of their clashes from over a kilometer away. But these battles are not always just between two muskoxen. Player 3 has entered the game. The males will continue to ram into each other until one bull turns and runs. Luckily, in addition to the 10-centimeter boss of their horns, the male's skulls are also 3 inches thick to prevent their brains from turning to pudding. If you listen closely, you can hear them screaming battle cries while they run. Oh, look at them go! Look at those muskox run! During the Pleistocene, which lasted from 2.6 million to 12,000 years ago, muskoxen were abundant. Since then, the ranges of these cold-loving behemoths are limited to the sub- and high Arctic. Muskox, along with caribou, are the only Arctic hooved animals to have survived the Pleistocene. Muskoxen are herd animals and live in groups of 2 to 3 dozen during the winter months. To keep predators at bay, they have developed some pretty advanced group defense tactics. When threatened, they run together in a tight circle formation or crescent-shaped line, horns pointed out, with the youngest and most vulnerable in the center. Individual adults will then burst out of this circle, heads lowered to chase down their attackers. King Leonidas would be proud. Muskoxen have evolved to withstand the harshly cold temperatures of the Arctic with several adaptations. In winter, they use their hooves to dig through the snow to reach the lichens, roots, and mosses underneath. They come equipped with vertical eye slits that prevent glare and help them spot any tasty grass hiding in the snow. Their slow metabolisms and ability to digest low-quality forage helps them maximize the energy they get from their sparse diets. Their lips are very muscular and have lots of veins and arteries. This helps them grab things and keep them warm by providing a steady flow of warm blood. Their most striking winterization adaptation is, of course, their long and shaggy coats. Muskox coats are made up of 2 distinct layers: the long guard hairs, which hang down to their hooves, and the downy inner insulating layer called the kivute. They kind of look like gigantic tribbles. Just big, round, fluffy boys running across the tundra. Overhunting for this softer-than-cashmere fiber resulted in their complete extinction in Alaska by 1920, with only a few remaining individuals in Arctic Canada and Greenland. In 1930, conservationists brought 34 individuals from Greenland to Alaska to help populations rebound. Their efforts were a success, and 40 years later, the population had grown to 750. From there, herds were then moved to other parts of Alaska and even Russia, and by the year 2000, more than 4,000 individuals were thriving in Alaska. Currently, there are about 170,000 muskox in the world in 55 populations. Scientists are now studying the potential effects of climate change and Arctic warming on the future of the muskox. With environmental protection efforts, hopefully the musk oxen will continue to thrive for generations to come. We've just been driving through the amazing mountains in Jasper, and we found a moose on the far side of this field. We're gonna try and get a better look. But we don't want to get too close. These are actually one of Canada's most dangerous animals, and you want to give them as much space as possible. And trust me, they are much more massive than you can ever imagine. If you think you know how big a moose is, think again. Oh yeah, that's a moose. Oh wow. Despite not having antlers, we know that this one is a male, because the males do lose their antlers in the winter, making this moose an actual bullwinkle. Is peeing. Have you ever seen a moose squat for a pee? Because I'm seeing that right now. Look at me just dead straight in the eye. It's like, yeah, I'm doing this. All right, boss, it's all you. Oh, it's smelly. You smell that? This collection of moose antlers you see here around me are all from the same individual. It's actually the moose that's standing right in front of me. Every single year, moose will grow a new set of antlers. And these antlers, as they're growing, are covered by a really nice soft velvet. All of that is fed by blood vessels that run all the way through and over these antlers. This moose antler is a really good example of the velvet because not all of the velvet has fallen off of these antlers. It's so soft. Oh, it's so soft. Oh my goodness. So this helps insulate them from the cold while they're growing. These antlers grow extremely fast. They only have about 6 to 8 months to reach full size before they end up dropping off of their head. That happens after the rutting season because they need these to be in full form when it comes time to mate in the fall. Antlers might look kind of sterile and lifeless, but when you take a look at a recently dropped set, you can see just how well these are fed by the whole animal system. The shape and size of a moose buck's antlers is extremely tied to the moose buck's level of testosterone. As the moose buck is growing, it'll start producing more testosterone. And so every single year, the new pair of antlers that it creates are going to be bigger and bigger. That is until it reaches its prime. After it reaches its prime, those antlers are going to start getting smaller and smaller because it's producing less and less testosterone. We're gonna see if we can get up close to a moose buck. See if he plays nice. Now I can tell that this moose is in its prime because it has beautiful big pomade antlers. As they grow older and past their prime, they won't be as pomade anymore and they'll be more branching. And this male's got a really big dewlap under its chin, which is also a great sign of sexual virility and a great signal for the ladies. Just joining this moose for his lunch right now, being extremely tolerant. It's December now, and just at the end of the rutting season for these moose. I can tell that these antlers on this male are not going to last much longer because they've already lost all of that beautiful fuzzy velvet that helps insulate them. And this means that all the blood vessels that usually feed that velvet have essentially wasted away and it has no more use for that. At this point, they're nothing but dead weight for the winter, and it needs those resources to stay warm. In any amount of days or maybe the next week or so, it's probably going to be shedding those antlers. Once the worst of the winter passes, it can start developing new antlers for next year. Grow big, little guy. I mean, not so little guy. He's pretty gigantic. This behemoth behind me isn't even done growing at 3 years old. He's gonna keep growing taller and bigger and heavier, and with a more impressive antler set every year until he's at his prime. His prime is probably around 7 years old. Buddy, your antlers are so beautiful, and I know that next year they're gonna grow even bigger along with the rest of you. I cannot believe what I'm seeing right now. Today I saw the first moose of my entire life, but it was from pretty far away, across the field. And now, as we're leaving at the end of the day, the sun is setting, and we're all pretty tired and done for the day. We got back into our car, and these two beauties are right there. Right behind me, we've got two members of the largest species of the deer family. These are moose. We've got a mother cow and her calf. This calf is looking pretty big, so she's probably not going to stick around with mom for very much longer. What a good mother. She's looking both ways before crossing with her calf. Just so special to get to see not one, but two moose. I've always wanted to see a moose. Well, I feel like the Animalogic cross-Canada trip wouldn't be complete without seeing a moose. Instead, we get two. I grew up in northern Quebec in an area that was fairly forested and woodsy. It was moose territory, for sure. But sadly, I just was never lucky enough to find one. Sometimes it's all luck, you know? And this beside me is Dylan. The wild Dylan, one of a kind. Every time I think I know how big a moose is, I'm wrong. Very wrong. I think that a moose is roughly horse size, just at least double that, because it's a lot more. Just outstanding. Look at those little moose butts. So cute. As always, you need to respect an animal's space and give them as much distance as they could possibly want, and then some. I'm so glad we made it out here. This is insane. We just saw a mother and her calf, and now there's a bull and a cow on the road, and they're the biggest things I've ever seen. This is insane, guys. I've never seen a moose in my life, and now I've seen 5 in one day? Jasper, you are beautiful. Look at these guys. Can you see that? Right in the middle of the road and licking the ground. So one thing that draws these giant moose out onto the roads like this is to lick salt, because salt is a very important part of any ungulate's diet. Here we go.
Oh my god.
What? How is this possible? This is 7 moose. No way. This one's even bigger than the last bull. No more than, what would it be? Like less than a kilometer down, there's another pair. 2 more. It's just unbelievable.
Do we have moose insurance?
Yeah, we have like the full insurance for everything.
Oh. This time it's a mother and her calf. So we found 2 mothers with calves. And then a mating couple. Did I say that I saw 7 moose? Make that 9. We've got another mother and calf right in front of our vehicle. Licking that salt off the road. This is just ridiculous. It's tough to see them in the dark, so you need to keep those high beams on. Out here, it's all that's gonna save you. Look at her little tongue go. I mean, little. It's actually a freaking massive tongue. Guys, I can't get over it. This is probably the most Canadian day ever. And maybe I'll just start celebrating Canada Day on October 15th. Yeah. Why not? Thanks, Moose. Today we were in the Yukon, getting up close and personal with the largest land mammal in North America, the iconic bison. Whew.
trying to keep warm in the most northern location that we have ever shot for Animalogic. We are just outside of Whitehorse at the Yukon Nature Preserve. Right in front of me, there's a bunch of bison. These are wood bison, and this species of bison only lives in very northern locales.
Bison are part of the bovine subfamily. Some of their close relatives include cows, yaks, and water buffalo. Bison are often incorrectly referred to as buffalo. True buffalo, however, consist of many different species native to Africa and Asia. Today, there are 2 living species of bison: European, Bison bonasus, and American, Bison bison. The American bison is further divided into 2 subspecies: the wood bison, Bison athabascae, and the plains bison, which bears the fun-to-say scientific moniker Bison. The subspecies wood bison inhabit a more northerly range across northern Canada and Alaska. They're typically slightly larger than plains bison, but classifying them can sometimes be difficult due to hybridization between the 2.
American bisons as a whole are the largest land animals in North America, with the male standing at about 6 feet tall at the shoulders and weighing up to 900 kilos. That's about as big as a compact car. These bison are so well insulated that the snow that's falling and accumulating on their backs doesn't melt. It just sits there.
Despite their bulked-up appearance, bison are actually extremely quick on their feet, achieving speeds of up to 56 kilometers per hour in just a few strides. They're also super agile. They're able to make quick turns and even leap over high fences.
Bison herds tend to be a harem arrangement, meaning that there's one male who's the boss of it all, and several females who keep him company. They all know their place though, and the biggest bison is always on top.
They put all this power to good use during the rut, when competition is high and bison bulls fight for dominance. These fights involve crashing their skulls together or hooking the opponent's head from side to side with their half-a-meter-long horns and lifting their forelegs off the ground.
Luckily for bison, they have big, thick skulls that can withstand this kind of battering.